Hey everybody, what is up? How you guys doing? Checking to make sure we're all good. Yep, looking good on Rumble and on YouTube. Sweet. Sweet. Welcome to another episode of the Power Up Podcast, the POW edition, the Power On Wednesday edition. For it is Wednesday. It is hump day. Hopefully everyone's weekend is going well. Mine's going okay. Everything's thrown off with like Labor Day and stuff like that. But other than that, can't super complain. But always trying to stay strong and fight the good fight. There's been a lot of stuff happening in the world of pop culture, and whether that's video games, anime, Netflix, all that stuff. And we found well, I say we as if it's like, like I'm Venom or something. Like we found some stuff. I found some interesting things to talk about. The big one that I'm sure a lot of people probably already know is the whole fiasco in the drama involving the recently released Starfield game from Bethesda. And that'll be something we'll probably cover like kind of in the middle of the stream. Uh, don't want to start off right away with that sort of thing, but I do have some thoughts about it, some comments, and just an outsider's input about the whole situation, because one of the people who kind of is involved with the whole Starfield thing. I was Nina Infinity. I was watching her stream, and she kind of uh, became a part of that when she made a public tweet on Twitter stating that she's gonna probably refund it for reasons. But like I said, we'll get into that one later. My good friend Joe Ball from King Toad Incorporation or Inc. He'll be coming on here soon. But until then, we'll go ahead and cover some topics. Yeah. So as you can see in the description, we've got stuff ranging from Starfield, from good old SAG-Aftra, apparently coming after the video game industry now. A funny thing I noticed involving Rockstar. That one's an interesting one I want to read. And then something that, as someone that was pursuing the acting field, I mean, I guess still kind of pursuing it, saw a really cool, interesting article involving Ian Mckellen, uh, explaining on how he got into the role of Gandalf and how he prepared for that. So it's always unique and interesting to listen to an actor's method of getting into a character. And I just wanted to check that out and see what was up. I think we'll go ahead and we'll start with that one first. I have that already pulled up. So there you go. So this is from good old Bounding into Comics. Uh-oh. So Gandalf actor Ian Mckellen explains he read J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings every night to prepare for the role. Very cool. So this article is actually quite recent, came out today. So we can go ahead and dive in and see what it has to say. So actor Ian Mckellen, who played Gandalf in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy, explained how he prepared to take on the character every night before he filmed. In an interview conducted back in 2003 ahead of the release of The Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and recently uploaded to the One Ring channel, and looks like the video is actually right there. Mckellen is asked, because your character is the one that everyone turns to, you are the wise man, you are the sage. Was it like that on the set? Very interesting question. So Ian responded, certainly not. No, 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 no. I think that would be the answer to that. He then elaborated. The wise man was Jackson. I mean, every morning you would arrive on set, no matter how early you got there. You got down into costume, and Peter would be sitting down in his chair. There's video monitors that he watched the proceedings on, and he would apparently be reading a book. It was always the same book, Lord of the Rings. Always. Well, that's reassuring to know that Jackson really took that seriously too. And funny enough, this also made me think about what's happening with the One Piece Netflix series, which people are saying is actually pretty okay, pretty good, very faithful apparently, since actually Oda-san is actually a part of uh having the say of what how it should be and whatnot. Now that the Netflix One Piece stems into a whole nother type of questioning as to, is it good because we've seen so much crap being uh, thrown at us that we're willing to take anything, or is it legitimately good? I mean, I'm sure other people will probably have better answers for that sort of questions. I doubt I will be watching the One Piece Netflix show anytime soon. But that's something that I'm curious about because I know people are saying it's actually staying quite true to the story given to it being a Netflix series. But then of course I'm also seeing critiques, professional critics, bashing it for following the source material too much. And of course, you just laugh at that because we know what they're talking about. They're mad because they can't fist their ideology into the series. And the man, the myth, the legend, my BFF forever because we sang the friendship song together. We've got Joe. What up, dude?
Well, I was literally thinking like I've got to get it together. I've got to stay awake
Mm-hmm.
because even without the show, we do have a friendship song to sing before bedtime tonight, as we do every night. You can't mess with tradition. How you doing,
Yeah.
man?
Oh, doing all right. You know, it's life being life, as you know,
Yeah.
sort of thing. But yeah, we're got some stuff pulled up here. Pop culture, the pop culture field. It never ends with the amount of insanity that's happening and whatnot. But kind of an off-topic sort of thing. King Toad Incorporated has some good news, uh, in that Swarm has been successfully funded,
Yes. Yeah.
and that is something to be absolutely proud of. And uh, that's just amazing. That's amazing that that was able to get done fairly quickly too. I know Shane and King Toad in general was putting a lot of effort and thought and just making sure everything was ready to go for that too. So that's
Yeah.
amazing that it was able to just zip out there real quick. What's up, Jordan? Says Jordan says, "Hey, what's up?"
Hey,
Uh,
Jordan.
let's see. So Swarm, we'll go ahead and pull that up here real quick. I was just reading an article, something that actually positive to start off of. And that was the actor bug in me was curious just to hear how Ian McKellen got into the role of Gandalf and whatnot. So wanted to start into that first. Let's see. But we'll switch over here real quick to Swarm. Woo. So we got Swarm right here. So successfully backed. Still open, I'm assuming, right? You can still
Yeah.
like get perks and stuff like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yep. Everything's still there as normal.
yep. But just fantastic to get that done. 52 backers, still 19 days left. So anyone who hasn't checked it out, check it out as well. Actually, that
Yeah.
reminds me, I need to snag one of the versions as well. But as you can see, we've got tons of different perks. We've got an all cover bundle. We got Michael Yakudis's version. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing his last name right. Adam
You are.
Miller, of course, my boy right here, Joe Ball's version, and then just other versions as well, cover bundles, the Matt Burke sketch bundle, and a bunch of other perks too. Oh yeah, look at that. That's what I like to see, sold out perks. Yeah.
Old, sold, sold.
Old sold out. Beautiful. Beautiful. Swarm is in the description. I've been leaving that in the description for a lot of the shows and the game streamings I do. So um all that information should be there, as well as Death. Pull that one up here. Boosh. Death. Oh, nice. I think last I saw you were under, I think, 87K. So it looks like you cracked that 87.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. It just started to cross over that mark maybe like 2 weeks ago or so.
Nice.
So yeah, it's still chugging along pretty well.
There you go. Anything
You
you
know,
want,
it's one of those.
anything new or anything on Death you want to add? Or if there's anything at all, sort of thing, or you know.
Just I'm working day and night on it, plus on
Mhm.
top of all the other stuff I'm doing. So yeah, it's getting worked on. It's a massive book. So
Mhm.
it's definitely been an incredible amount of work. Probably more work I've ever done on one thing for like an extended period of time than
Yeah.
any other project or art or anything like that I've ever done in my whole life.
Mhm.
So, but I did it to myself. I can't complain. It's not like someone
Oh
put a
no,
gun to
yeah.
my head. Like, make it a 300-page book. That was me just being
No,
like,
yeah.
I'm an egomaniac. I'm doing this. So
Yeah, I guarantee you a lot most of the people, if not all the people, truly understand that obviously you're, I mean, with the amount of detail, I always hear whenever anyone compliments about your work, it's always about how detailed it is. So I'm more than positive everyone completely understands about it too. Mine was more so of like, oh, like any like new things, as opposed to like new milestones and stuff like that, as opposed of like what is going on sort of thing. So it's all good.
I'm Craig comes over once a week, and if he sees me like sleeping or sitting down for any reason, he has a and he likes to take his cues from the Romans. He ties lots of lamb bone and stuff into it. Just
Hmm.
crack wakes me right up. Leaves a flesh wound, but I
Hmm.
mean
Well, they knew
that
what's up.
ain't
They knew how many to give before the person would die. So you just
yeah.
got to know when to stop.
A little trip to the ER. What's that? That ain't nothing.
That's nothing. That's nothing at all. But yeah, anybody who hasn't checked out Death, and just this alone on the show seems like an interesting story to check out. That is also in the description, and feel free to look into it. And you feel inclined to do so, maybe drop a blessing and pick up a perk.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
Of course, my friend.
Such a gentleman.
I try to be. Oh, that's really disgustingly close. I don't get why it defaults like when I switch over, like when I like switch off of a tab I have open, it like switches to like a zoomed in portion. I don't get it. I wish you could like I wish you could just default it to be like, look, some of us already are sitting fairly close to our camera, like no need to like go up our nostrils.
Yeah. And I mean, there's seriously like a foot and a half between me and my camera, but you can't even tell. It looks like I'm like sitting right up against the thing.
Mm. Right now we are multi-streaming over on YouTube and Rumble, and Nick Ka. I just now put
Uh,
two and two together because I was like, because I've always just said Nick. Nick says over on Rumble, "What's death about?" I guess Joe, since you are the creator, why don't you go ahead
yes.
and share a little bit about that, as much or as little as you want. What is death
Sure.
about? Death times three
Death,
about John Joseph Ball.
Death is basically like it's like a sci-fi fantasy war story. There's a moon. Well, there's multiple moons, but the one where it takes place on is this moon outside of Saturn, where there is there's like an ancient kind of culture of like these big bony monsters. I'd say they're not like Evangelion size. That scale's a little too big. Even though I would have loved to have used that scale, it just didn't work with the rest of the book. But they're probably like 30 foot tall realm. And these creatures are inhabiting the moon currently, and basically you could call them almost like settlers or colonizers or whichever pejorative and or positive version of the word you'd like to use. God places some Atlanteans there on that moon that he allowed to survive the flood, even though they technically he probably wouldn't have. If this wasn't fictional, he would have just killed them. And They get a second chance at life, and they eventually meet these creatures. And then there is also another group of bad guys called they're from Planet Blood. I my names are very like on the nose. And King Blood of Planet Blood, that moon was originally one of his like first stomping grounds, like his earliest places. He's kind of like a fallen angel that did not fall with Satan and the others. He was more like he had like the same ambitions as Satan, you could say, but it wasn't about Earth. Like he knew, like, just don't mess with humans, don't mess with Earth. Like if you want God to inevitably like wipe you out, sure, go ahead and mess with it. You want him to kind of leave you alone or forget you even exist, stay away from there. Just don't even mess with it. Go find other places that dominate, other things to do. So eventually, that moon being the first place that Blood dominated as a as not a young man, but as a young spiritual entity. He wants his old stomping grounds back. He knows his days are limited. He hears those keys to the abyss jingling right behind him at all times. So that's kind of like his last hurrahs to go back and take the first place that he originally took, and that's kind of where all these characters end up meeting at once. And when that's where the war aspect of it really kicks off. So the bulk of it's a war book. It's giant organic mech, human scale size creatures, and then King Blood's army, which are all kind of oversized as well to kind of match the scale of the organic bots. And they just have a hoorah. God's real in this universe, just like in real life. The Bible is all true and real in this world, and there's a lot of Bible lore, and even things just kind of hinted at from older texts that aren't canon, but they're interesting to gain some insight from. Bare minimum. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's the bulk of it. Bible mythology, sword and sorcery mixed with a war book. So yeah.
Sounds delicious.
Like a delicious steak right off the grill.
Right off the grill. Right off the grill. Nick says a secondary evil power. That's interesting. Never thought of that before. Yeah, that can actually. It made the minute you said that he wasn't involved with like the original like messing around of like Genesis 6 sort of thing. It made me think about and this might be something that be added into the book too, because if we do go off of what the scripture says, it says there was giants before and after sort of thing. So that opens up the questioning of, well, how did they survive the flood if there was ones before and after? I tend to believe, based on the research that I'm looking into and stuff, that a second incursion happened. So now I'm kind of curious that your main character is could technically be like doing a part of like the second incursion or a second incursion or something like that. So very cool, very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where like something was still going on, some level of breeding or genetics being modified after the flood as well. But
yeah, that's a whole
that's
rabbit
kind of like
hole.
the cutoff point for the details. We don't get a ton more information after that in that regard. Little bits and pieces. I actually, side note, 'cause you know me, I love to derail.
Yeah.
I heard a very interesting take from a Christian I like to watch on TikTok. And he was trying to explain, like, at least from his perspective, why he sticks mostly to King James or versions very, very similar to it
Yeah, that's what I
Um,
do. That's
and he
you got
doesn't
your
get
yeah,
and
your
he doesn't
King
get too much.
James. Your King James is in the middle to probably being the most accurate translation from the original, like Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek and stuff like that. And then from there, I forget what it's actually called, but there's a timeline that people kind of put together to where on one side it's as literal as possible, while still
Mhm.
like to where it's the droning on like word for word. It's long, it's kind of boring. And then you got your other side where they'll take liberties to, well, it's kind of saying like this, so use it as an example. Tend to stay away from that area because the living word is something to where you want to truly understand what it is. But go ahead to continue what you're doing. I'm actually looking up a tweet because this will actually tie into what you're talking about.
Right on. But his ultimate like conclusion of even like look, read Book of Enoch,
Hmm.
read the the testaments of Solomon. It's fine, but if you want to know why maybe those things didn't make it in or weren't even ever supposed to be in the first place, since it's not like we have a perfectly clear answer on either option, um,
Hmm.
is the Old Testament and the New Testament are very much like they're like if you stripped away everything that maybe the Catholic Bible leaves in or the Ethiopian Bibles leave in, and you just narrow it down to things that specifically have to do with Christ. Like you can take every parable or even a lot of the stories from the Old Testament and still relate them to Christ. You're getting the bloodlines and the direction he's going. Like you're still, it's almost like you can tell God was like, people don't need to know the names of a bunch of demons. They need to know my son. And I
Hmm.
feel like that makes sense to me. And I don't think anyone necessarily took away or added to. It was just like that was like
Hmm.
the Lord's that was the Lord how the Lord wanted it presented. That's the best way I can explain it, and it makes sense from the perspective of
Hmm.
they do have that Christ is the center point of both versions, even though he's not born yet. In, the Old Testament,
Hmm.
it's still you can see that progression and where things were going. So
Hmm.
and all the tiebacks that make sense. So
Yep.
that's just one of the little things I felt was interesting, even though it's a subtle thing.
Mhm. Chuck Missler often quotes, and I think he got it from, I think it was actually Augustine. He says, the Old Testament's the New Testament revealed, the New Testament is the Old Testament, or no, the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed, the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. And what that means is that everything can be pointed back to Christ.
Yes, yeah,
So
exactly. That was
you
a way
got it.
better way of explaining
Yeah,
explaining. Yeah,
exactly,
perfect.
exactly. And Nick says, so we have a sci-fi writer to comment on Starfield and other stuff. Oh yeah. Well, Joe's not really a video game person, but I mean,
Yeah,
I'm always down to hear what's up. Interesting. Is the Power Keg also a writer? I'd like to be. I feel like I'd be a terrible writer, but I mean, I always have ideas, and of course, I would probably be more someone who would probably want to write with a group of people and then have them help me out and flush stuff out and think that sort of thing. But I mean, I took like
I
writing classes and stuff like that
I
too.
think you've got the capability. I've always wondered, like, I wonder when Greg's going to write something up and shoot it to me one of these days. Like, I know there's got to be an itch somewhere, like a creative
Well,
bug in him.
I will resend to you the pitch that I did before because technically I have one
Okay,
that would like to do, and then two would be probably be your like your death and or Eric July's rip-a-verse sort of thing. There's one that I've been flushing out around too, but like going
yeah, shoot it
around with
over
what's up?
whenever you got. Shoot it over
Yeah,
whenever
for
you
sure,
have
for sure.
time. I'd like to read it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I it's funny enough because I was actually talking with someone around here who's of the faith as well, and we were actually funny enough we were actually talking about the books who didn't make it to the Bible or into the Bible. I am one to where, well, one, technically the Bible doesn't call itself the Bible. They refer to it. Everyone refers to it in the Bible. They refer to it as the Scripture or the Word.
Yeah,
So really,
yeah,
a Bible isn't. It's just the name that a lot of people use to of the collection of things too. But believe it or not, there are some books in the scripture that people actually refer to that aren't in the collection
Hmm.
of the Bible and stuff. And
Yep.
I'm ultimately one to where the holy book, what we what we have right here, that is ultimately 100% what God wanted to share with his creation. It's done. This is what he wanted to share with people because it's enough for people to get a foundation and to learn and to listen to what God wants to share with his creation. However, I take it a step further and I also will not throw away the books that are either mentioned in the Bible because that provides a more understanding of what they're talking about back in the day, and
Hmm.
the books that were associated with the Dead Sea Scrolls, such as the fragments of the Book of Giants and the Book of Enoch. The first book, I don't agree with the
First.
other books. The first book is the one I would recommend. And then I take it a step further to actually try to understand the culture and the mindset of that time. And in order to do that, I actually reach out and listen to what the myths and the legends of the other cultures around that time. Because if you stand on this as your foundation and you take the cultures around but use this as the foundation, you can find answers, the supernatural answers to stuff. I personally believe in the end, if
Yeah.
someone points to me like, is it the word and stuff like that, hey Edwin, is it the word?
What's up, Ace?
um Ultimately what I'm saying is at the end, I can share with you my studies and my research, and I'll tell you to Acts 17:11, it, which pretty much in the nutshell says, don't listen to what I say. And if you're going to check to make sure that I'm telling the truth that's based off of the
Hmm.
scripture. So I would tell you to like use this as your foundation because I believe it doesn't contradict itself and it's divinely inspired. God breathed through people and left their personality and their quirks and all that stuff and still got his holy message across, except Revelation. Jesus actually told John to not add his personality to it. He said, you're going to write down exactly what I'm going to tell you and do not touch anything. So there.
Yeah, yeah. Slightly different situation, but
Mhm.
that is the final book.
Yep.
It did require a certain level of
Hmm.
finesse only Jesus can provide.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And also with the Holy Scripture as well, how we got there, a lot of it can be thanks for Ezra. Ezra put everything together. He actually reintroduced Hebrew, which is what we know today, because there was actually two types of Hebrew in the past that kind of got lost because they got assimilated with the other cultures of the time, Babylonian
Mhm.
and the Canaanites and stuff like that, and that kind of jumbled everything. That's where you can kind of hear people start to get finicky about that sort of thing. But don't let that distract you. Maybe try
Hey,
GTP.
God said His word would be available in every
Yep.
language on every place on planet Earth, and guess what? There's only one Bible
Hmm.
that's available in every language. It's borderline free. You can
Hmm.
get it anywhere. You can walk up to any church and they'll give you a copy, and it's the King James Bible. You can go to a jungle in the Amazon and find King James Bibles written in clicks and dots. Even they have
Yep.
access. We all
Nick
have
uh,
access.
Nick says try Chat GPT for writing. Well, it will help at least writing a rep draft. Don't really need a group of people. Yeah, I mean, I still would personally want that actual human interaction. I don't need AI sort of thing to do it. And then you're referring to the lost books of the Bible. They're not really lost books. They're books that were around the time, and when putting them together, they just
Basically, when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, they
yeah.
also found these other side books that Greg mentioned,
Mhm.
and they they were heavily deteriorated and fragmented, and none of the books that made it into the Bible were like that. They were pristine, mint condition, completely readable. All context is there, beginning, middle, and end.
Mhm.
And the Book of Enoch, like the first one, the only one people really care about. I mean, if you hold the scroll up, half of it's gone.
Yeah.
So we're getting half
The
of each event. So it's being wrote, in vertical lines. So
mhm.
when the lines are half gone in the middle, all you're getting is this little chunk, that little chunk, that little chunk.
Mhm.
you're not getting the second half of whatever each verse was trying to say.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
kind of
what
understand why these things didn't make it in because they were just fragmented chunks and
mhm.
pieces with
Yeah,
no.
and also to add on to what Joe's talking about as well is, unfortunately, this is where a lot of the troubles of having what you probably have heard as denominations come into play, because I do believe a lot of denominations have paganism secretly inserted into it or purposely inserted into it, that's become a
Yeah,
custom that's not part of the scripture. And the books, and also you're going to hear certain books called or what is it, the apocrypha, where you're going to be
yeah,
hearing a bunch of books that the Catholics will use, but it's not in the Bible, but they go off of that, to the point where they'll probably say it's divinely inspired. That's what I'm talking about, is that we need to be careful about what we would declare as something as being divinely inspired. And
yeah.
the scripture itself says that it will explain itself too. And so, and again, this is where the denominations come from, because you're going to get all this theological argument of, well, this was dated at this time, no, it was dated at this, that sort of stuff too. So all I can tell you is that for sure, the Bible of what we have, that's a solid foundation to stand on. To transition over to what
Yeah.
Joe was talking about, whatnot. This isn't kind of one of the topics I was talking about, but this is very interesting. I saw on Twitter a supposed leaked footage from Area 51 showcasing gray aliens, and there's no audio to it.
Okay. Thank God we know what kind of IVs help the aliens live.
Yeah, that's what I don't get too. I mean, this is like literally 13 seconds. So that was it. That was the supposed leak footage. Is it fake? Is it real? I don't know. Um, in my
Faking.
research, there are uh, there is definitely fallen angels mingling to create a new type of hybrid species. Uh, I 100% believe in that for sure. Is this an actual one? I don't know. I've actually been studying about what God did when he actually created Adam and Eve, because he actually breathed a specific type of spirit into Adam that's
Mhm.
described as a vibrating wind, kind of like a vroom, and it's this specific component that allows us as humans to become, like what the scripture says, like angels, hence salvation and stuff like that. That's a whole nother rabbit
It's
hole too.
yeah, it's the difference between us and Neanderthals, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm actually, and again, a long rabbit hole. Maybe this will be another topic to come down. I'm actually becoming more and more convinced. I'm probably now like maybe 80%, 90% convinced that two creations took place. Because the discrepancies between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are too much to ignore for me. Um, one of them being that in Genesis 1, man and woman are declared to be created at the same time. In Genesis 2, Adam's created first, and then there's actually a little bit of time before Eve's created. My biggest thing is that the title for God is used differently. In Genesis 1, it's Elohim, meaning
Hmm.
God, the God portion of the Trinity. And then in the second one, it's actually the Lord God, which is Jehovah. And that's a
Yeah.
totally different title too. That's Christ, pretty much.
Mhm.
And it makes that much sense too. And it can kind of also answer the fact of who Cain was afraid of when he was like, oh, I'm going to get killed by the people. And then
Yeah.
based on the spirits they were actually producing, if you do believe in that, there's what we'll call the day six people, they were gifted with the spirits of nature and the human body, of ration and stuff. And it's
Mm.
Adam and his specific lineage. That's the lineage that Christ was going to come into and allows us to become like angels and then eventually do it, rule over them. But that's a long rabbit hole too. I'm starting to come to there too. But
Well, it's tough because this stuff inspires us and it interests
yeah.
us. And it's the kind of
Mhm.
things that like tease our brain in a good way, get
Oh,
us
yeah.
excited. It's
Yeah.
mystery we enjoy.
Edwin can join us if he wants to, by the way. I don't.
Do you mind shooting him the link? You can probably just drop it in the Toad room. He'll see it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do that.
I'm, I'm always down with the ace.
Yeah, yeah,
On the alien video, I think
yeah.
me and you would agree on the fact that because this modern age we live in, we've seen science fabricate and make synthetic versions of so many things. Like, yeah, they need the base stuff that comes from the earth or that already exists, but they can manipulate it to a point where you have things like synthetic oils or
Hmm.
just things that aren't derived directly from a plant. It's a weird combination of chemicals mixed up and having certain reactions and be basically like magic is just a word to describe things that we don't have a scientific explanation for yet.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's all that is. So the deeper people go, the more they just find God within things. But yeah, they've made. I would not be shocked if we have the ability at this point to make things that look like aliens and seem like aliens. They could have even grown them in a tube for all we know. They can do it with a human baby. There ain't no reason they can't do it with some freak critter. You know.
That's funny that you bring this up because there's literally been breaking news about scientists had like literally just created a humanoid type embryo from nothing.
If
Did you
that's not sus, I don't know what is. I've never
you
heard a
just
more appropriate use of the word sus in all my life until I saw
yeah,
that headline.
exact. Oh yeah, people are already commenting on it. And I'm like, no, that's not human. Like that's 100% not human. Like I guarantee you, the Lord's not going to be breathing any life into that person. That's like 100% like some demonic crap happening.
It's like
Um,
the clone sheep that could never live past 6 weeks or 6 months. It was always something with a six. You know what I mean?
mm,
Every single time. And you can't tell me that's a coincidence that every
you want
time you hit the magical six, either on a month, a week, or a year, these critters always drop dead or their organs just start falling apart, you know?
You wanna know what's funny too? That, going back to that alien video where you joked about it being on IV, that's kind of why I think that might be fake, because if when we hear all of this talk about, aliens showing up and whatnot, like, they're teleporting into, like, different dimensions. There's no way they would willingly just be sitting there forever just to be
Yeah.
hooked up to some IVs and stuff like that. It's like they would teleport back to where their technology is, like, way better. Like, no way, unless that thing's literally dead. And I don't believe for a second if it's injured and stuff that it would be like unconscious or like in a coma like a human would be because they're on a whole different level. Like their
They're
spirit is
either super advanced or they're not. You know,
yeah.
like we can't always have it both ways. Like they're super advanced, but we shot down their super ship
Yeah,
with some old military guns in the
yeah, they
40s.
seem
Like,
to
come
do
on.
they do a terrible job landing apparently in
Yeah.
from a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing.
Look, I believe in a God and in an invisible, all all powerful being made of pure energy that comes from nothing.
Mhm.
Like I get we can wrap our heads around some crazy concepts, but I'm not irrational. I also know what's realistic in my physical realm, and the aliens ain't it. So they're just not. We've yet to ever have anything alien be anything more than like Hollywood tricks and smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, yeah, and
There's
again going
literally like every time people see the pearl necklace in the sky, like the glowing dots that do formations and stuff. There's a dude that worked for it's not DARPA. DARPA is just a program that like funds it, but worked for one of the companies that was
the
funded
dark
through
chief
DARPA.
died of a
Yeah,
heart
to
attack.
make holograms and holograms that actually emitted sound as well. And they were working with a Japanese company, and you can actually find the footage on YouTube.
Mhm.
Back in the like early 2000s, one of the Japanese guys was doing an interview for TV and absolutely accidentally slipped up on what they were working on. That they were
Uh-oh.
working on holograms and these things, and when he demonstrated how it worked, it was the exact same little glowy dots you see in the sky that zip around. They even found ways to make sound emit from it. so you could think you're hearing someone speak at the same. Like, if well, here, Ace, what's your hot take? I know you're just drooling at the jowls for some aliens to come down and smack us around.
No, I do. I'm a believer. I guess you could call it.
Hmm.
Uh, Mostly I'm just, I want to know. I want to know if it's true or not. I want answers before I
Hmm.
die. We're only on this earth for a limited amount of time. I only got a couple more decades. I need something. I don't need all the answers, but I need at least, you know, whether they send a message, whether we just come out with it and be like, look, we've been hiding some stuff. I just want like an answer because there's been there's too many things that don't add up for
Yeah.
for it not to be true. Like it's been like 70 years now. Like it's like a leaky faucet. You can only ignore it for so long. So
Yeah,
at this point, to
drives
me,
you
I think
nuts.
like I just want some answers before I'm gone from this world, where I can say like, you know what, we're not alone. There's other beings. I got to see them. I'm good.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen plenty of shit. I've been here for plenty of bad moments. Let me get like a cool one. Let me be one of those people that was there when something cool went down.
Brother, you
Yeah.
got to watch WrestleMania 18 happen live. You should just be happy with that.
Oh, nice.
Look, man, to this day, nothing. There's few things that are better than wrestling. Watching my Broncos celebrate 3 championships in my lifetime is that. But
You
There
yeah,
do
you
that.
go. There you
Most
go.
football fans do not have 3 championships in a lifetime,
three,
if
brother.
at
Okay.
all. Oh, Chaos. I haven't seen Chaos's name in forever. I miss you, Chaos, you piece of shit.
Oof. Oof.
No, I love Chaos. He knows that. We have a fine tradition of saying terrible things.
Nick over on Rumble says that's a great WrestleMania, Ace. And he's like,
Yeah.
he says, I think 17 is his favorite.
17 was great too, man.
I like some manias. Just something about Hulk Hogan and The Rock facing off, man. That match was it was next level. To this day, it's one of the few matches I can turn on and still
I
get like goosebumps and the hair standing on my arms like halfway into the match. I'm like, oh shit, it's like it's happening all over again. I love it. It never gets old.
Yeah, I need to get back into I need to watch the wrestlings that I always see you guys post up because I feel like that's probably the most successful thing that will probably recapture what I grew up watching was like the Raw and the Attitude eras where it was like that nitty gritty, towards the end of WCW, but transferring over into WWE. But I feel like WWE is like garbage now, pretty much for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. There's always tons of great wrestling out there. You just got to know where to find it. And if you're a casual, that's flipping channels on cable, which is fine, But once you realize, like, it's almost like metal. There's metal bands in every part of the world. There's even like Aztec metal bands. Same's for wrestling. You can find wrestling in some of the most odd, obscure places, and some of it is really good. Not all of it, but some of it. And yeah, it's surprising how like the product can feel so silly in one country, and then you can see what another country is doing and be like, this feels like a competitive sport. Like I can
Yeah.
suspend disbelief and just sit back and feel like I'm watching two dudes duke it out for
Okay.
a combat sport championship.
Chaos Smash says, I just want the liars to start fessing up the truth and then exterminating them for making up those lies. Yeah, that's a lot of smoke and mirrors purposely being made with going back to like the whole aliens thing and not being alone. Then Chaos responding to you, Joe, saying the feeling is mutual, shit for brains. And then him asking, did Hogan bash in The Rock? I guess what
They
it was.
bashed in each other, dude. But we got to finally. We had look, Ace. You'll back me up on this because we both lived through it and witnessed all these things live as they happened. I hadn't seen Hulk Hogan be Hulk Hogan in quite a while. He was full on Hollywood Hogan. He was black with the lightning bolts, the NWO, the red and orange, the say your prayers and take your vitamins. That Hogan had slowly disappeared, and all we knew was heel Hogan. And when you saw heel Hogan
Back.
pop up and start shaking, you knew something was about to go down. Like when he started hulking up, like the hero Hulk Hogan, not the heel. When you saw the fighting spirit come alive in Hulk Hogan again, and him just shaking his head no and eating punches and waving the big old finger, it's like you knew The Rock was about to get his shit pushed in. It's like, oh, Rock, look what you've done, dude. He's gonna fucking kill you now. He's got
Nick
old
over
man
on
strength. He has
Nick
no
over
chance.
on Rumble says, "Rest in peace, Scott Hall." Yeah, that sucks about
The one
Scott.
and only bad guy. Yeah,
Hey,
man.
yo,
Hey, yo, he did sell one of the greatest Stone Cold Stunners. I'll give him that. That was
he
great.
did.
Dude, he
His
like
stuff.
somehow made it to where he got launched super high, but yet gently fall in slow motion. It's amazing. I don't know how he did it, but it is amazing.
Talented guy, man. He's
Yeah.
you know.
The job of a wrestler is to learn how to fall over.
Yeah.
That's 90% of their job is falling over in different ways where they're not going to get hurt too bad or it's going to look awesome. And somehow Scott Hall could just like make that giant body like float in the
great.
air, like in weird ways.
People don't know, like Scott was like legit, like 6'7", like almost 300. He was literally like, he
Yeah.
always walked around with guys bigger than him. That's why he didn't look that big. But Hall, if you see him, or you saw him in his prime, he was a monster. Like that
Oh,
dude's
yeah.
legitimate. Like, he was the real deal. So like the fact that he was able to be so like athletic, he was at that perfect height. Like because if you get like 6'8", 6'9", your body won't be that flexible. But he's around the 6'5", 6'6" area. You can still be like super athletic. Guys like Billy Gunn, another guy, he's like 6'5". He's like in his, what is it, 50 now, and he still looks super jacked. Like still in incredible shape. But some of those guys are built different, man.
Yeah, there was something special about that era of wrestlers where there was that sweet spot where these massive individuals could just move at high speeds and they had finesse and they were just very athletic. And it's not to say there aren't guys like that now. It's just a different kind of athletic. It's these, when you see Scott Hall doing something that requires like speed and finesse and athleticism, it's just different from watching like a luchador do it. It's not the same. It's like, well, of course that little dude can corkscrew 30 times in the air. He weighs 98 pounds. I bet you Scott Hall could have at least almost matched it just as smoothly if he tried hard enough because he was just, he was that good of an athlete.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nick over on Rumble says The Rock sold the hell out of the stunner. Oh yeah, he was definitely probably the top #1 seller for the stunner. Like there's a compilation you can find of people selling the stunner. Bam Bam Bigelow. He also says Bam Bam Bigelow was the big athletic guy doing moonsaults.
Yeah, he was. Bam Bam was nuts. I'll watch his ECW matches and just be in awe of what an athletic monster that guy was, or like his All Japan time, like when he was in AJPW. Like you'd see him and Vader, like moving on their feet lightly, and these guys were massive individuals. They were huge guys.
Bam Bam was close to 4. Vader was over 4. And these guys doing jumping drop kicks and literally having like 25-minute sprint matches, doing all this crazy shit. And like they were incredible athletes, man. Those guys are like, Vader's like a former football player. So like his gas tank, he could go like a good 30 minutes. But most other big guys like him, they'd be drop dead after like 15. Vader could go like a hard 30, no problem. Like these guys are one of a kind. Like literally, like there's still nobody like them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Chaos says, "Nice job, Hulk. You should have actually broke Rock's arms, and we wouldn't see Rock being what he is now." I love the positivity you bring to the channel, Chaos. I love it.
Chaos is the voice of reason and positivity.
I mean, in his defense, Young Rock is terrible.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
The Rock, he's not as fun as he used to be. He's too busy trying to rip people off with Oprah now to do fun things.
That's terrible.
Well, before Joe and H joined us, we were looking into Ian Mckellen explaining like kind of how he prepared for getting ready for Gandalf. This kind of it was an interesting article for me because it scratched my actor or excuse me, my acting bug, which I'm always down to try to, I love acting, always wouldn't mind doing it, but a lot of the bullshit happening now. So just a article from Bounding in the Comics, and he was talking about how every time he would come in, he would see Peter Jackson have reading Tolkien while they were getting ready to shoot for the day. So returning to the question, Mckellen said, but he was the authority and it's his movie. It's his vision of Tolkien. Oh, I think I kind of skipped a little too much. Here we go. This is where I ended up. But I could match him. So apparently Mckellen, he said that kind of how we got ready, according to this. So he says, but I could match him because I had a pocket in Gandalf the Grey's costume that he also kept a Lord of the Rings in it. So the night before, I would look up to the scene, what we were going to be doing, and see if there was anything in the Tolkien that I thought had been missed or overlooked or could enhance what we got. He continued, if you could point to a particular line, I'd say, could we not have this back in the script? And it was written by Tolkien. Peter almost always said, of course. See, that's awesome. And that's something that Hollywood isn't doing nowadays, too, is one, you have people actually respecting the source material and using that as the foundation of where you need to go back, not even just providing like the acting spirit and learning from it, too, but actually respecting it. And to me, and I don't know if you guys ever have done any sort of acting or something, or just based off of observation and whatnot, you guys probably have heard of method acting, where people are like, I have to be into the mindset and stuff. I do agree that there is a certain mixture of having a sort of method acting approach to it, but when you're pulling like Jared, Leno, and sending people condoms and stuff like that to get into the mind of the Joker, it's like, fuck off. No, you're retarded. Like, you don't need to go that deep. But I like this too, and I like how the actor and the director can come together, and they're both understanding the source material and going, and literally what he says, like, this line really means something. We should keep this in here. Do you think we should keep this in here? And then it's like, yeah, that's something that you're definitely not seeing nowadays and whatnot. And this is definitely something that needs to be brought back to. And I'm kind of wondering about what you guys think of, not only about that, but like, I don't know if you guys, I haven't watched it either, the whole One Piece Netflix adaptation. People are saying that it's actually kind of pretty good, but the critics are bashing it because it's following the source material too much, sort of thing.
Because
And we all know the
it's
irony
really good.
we all know the irony of that. Like, what do you guys, based on your guys' just viewing of a movie and stuff like that, do you guys think that there's like a definitely a nice balance that has been found and has been done correctly from the past that Hollywood's just refusing to do nowadays?
B.A. Turner, I see you in the chat. Hey, brother. Yeah, and check out BA's book for anyone that's doesn't know, Vigilante's Creed. I did some artwork for it. It's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Brother in Christ as well. So he gets it. Ace
Also,
Ace is a
yeah, I was gonna say Ace. Shoot a link in the private message and we'll pull up your any works that you're doing too.
Oh, I got nothing right now, and about 2 months I will. But for now, I'm just kind of laying low, working on like 3 or 4 different projects. So,
okay,
you'll be ready end of October. We'll have something to promote.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, guys, check out Edwin over on Twitter too to get notified when
place to be. That's what I'll drop all the news, all the sneak peeks, all that good stuff.
I just wanted to be courteous and be like, oh yeah, like give me your.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, well, I'll pull it up for sure. And also with B.A. Turner over on YouTube. And again, we are on YouTube and Rumble. Anybody new who's enjoying this show as much as, and of course, I blame Joe for it being derailed from the planned schedule that I had to talking about wrestling. Every time it happens, every time. No, I'm just kidding. But if you guys are enjoying the show, feel free to smash the subscribe and punch the plus or the, I keep saying plus because Rumble used to be plus, but now it's actually just thumbs up as well. So punch the thumbs up and turn on notifications to know when I go live. And then, check out all these guys as well, because they have peak comic and graphic novel artwork. It's delicious, or stories. Check it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the actual source material and
Hmm.
the way people treat different things these days, I've always been a proponent of, if the source material is what made something big or is what put it on the map in the first place, yeah, let's try to stick to that, because that's obviously what the bulk of people that are going to show up for something are going to expect. Um, I like when the first X-Men movie came out, I was super hesitant because I saw all these guys in like Matrix outfits,
Mm.
and I was like, "That's not X-Men, though. Like, why are they all in black leather and shit?" Like, it just bothered me. It irritated me. And I was like, and when I would see people saying like, "Well, you can't have Wolverine look like Wolverine. That looks stupid." I'm like, "No, it didn't. He's literally every little boy's favorite character, and even most adult males' favorite character. Like most of their lives is the guy that wears yellow has knives that come out of his tops of his hands. It's awesome. Like you're never going to be able to make people think Wolverine is not cool, because we already have assumed he's cool as shit for our entire lives. So I don't like when people go too far outside of um, source material, unless it's something that's still kind of like within that universe and works, but there is no source material of it. As long as it still lives by the rules of the existing universe. It's like, yeah, I don't like all the like stuff Disney's done with Star Wars, but every once in a while they'll get at least like 15 minutes right. Where I go, okay, that was almost something. If you guys could have just worked off that, maybe, like Rogue One. I didn't like the ragtag group of people that were going to try to get the Death Star plans necessarily, but I like that it was within the realm of, hey, yeah, remember in A New Hope how they talk about this, like, this great sacrifice and the many deaths to get this information. Yeah, they didn't hit every note right, but it was close enough on some things where I could at least go, I like some things about it. I may not endorse the movie as a whole, but I like that it even picked up right where like A New Hope starts in a way, and you get to see Vader um, still moving, but relying more on the Force. He wasn't like doing backflips off the walls. He had a little bit of saber speed left in him, but he was mostly relying on the Force, just like he would be later on.
That
So it worked for me. It
I
didn't
never
bother
saw
me.
that movie, but that scene with Vader at the end was dope. That was
It
awesome.
was, it was cool, and it rode that line too, where it's like George would have went right overboard with it, and Disney usually goes underboard with things. Like someone in control found that sweet middle spot. Like George would have had like Vader doing like 16 backflips, like all the way down that tunnel chute, even though it makes no sense to where New Hope picks up the kind of shape Vader's in by that point. But
Hmm.
I don't know. It's like I say, outside of some exceptions to the rule, I feel like you stick to source, because the source is where is the reason people like it to begin with. It's probably the reason something's even being considered for a film or a cartoon or an anime. And I'm super happy for all the One Piece people, because One Piece is like a big fucking deal to a lot of people. Like its fan base is massive. Just Japan alone, I mean, the sales figures are the kind of numbers in America we can't even dream to wrap our heads around. Like there ain't nothing here that sells like One Piece manga. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that Netflix got it right, because they got so much shit for Death Note. They got so much shit for what was the last one they did? The Cowboy Bebop. And I felt bad for Cowboy Bebop, because from the outside looking in, that one even looked sort of promising. Like it looked like it had a chance. It's like, okay, maybe some of the costumes are a little different. Chicks, titties or legs aren't showing quite as much, but I can look past that if it's still like 90% good.
And that's
And it just,
and I
they
think
just won't give it to us. So I'm glad that One Piece people got what they wanted. They're getting a sourced heavy thing that, even if there are times where the characters just look like they're in cosplay, that's fine. Half the cosplayers I see look cooler than the movie versions of characters anyway.
yeah,
So
they're like even better too. Like yeah, the Netflix Cowboy Bebop, and I said this in the past too. I said, and this is just with anime. With anime, especially depending on the series you're picking, it's purposely meant to be like that bright and color, like bright and colorful, over the top sort of thing too. And you just cannot emulate that without it looking like absolutely ridiculous, aka like a cosplay, like fan film or something like that. I thought with Cowboy Bebop that they should have just went with the Nolan route of make it less futuristic but have it based just enough to where you could be convinced it's inside of the new thing and stuff like that. But people obviously wanted to see the iconic costumes, obviously mainly with Faye, right? Why am I drawing a blank? The Faye.
That little Asian chick they got to play Faye was hot though. Like she didn't have the character's body whatsoever, but she was still super hot. Every time I saw her, I was like, damn, she's cute. I don't even care who she's playing.
Nick over on Rumble says, too busy shilling for Kamala and Biden. That was probably when we were talking. I can't remember already what we were talking about. But Jackson respecting and loving the original work instead of current day, quote, creators, self-inserting their terrible nonsense. Yep. And then he also says, you're crazy, Joe. If something is loved by many people, we should completely change it. If it ain't broke, fix it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just a
stupid
idiot. Yeah. And the word Chris Jericho put me on a list once, so you can't trust a word I say.
Did he actually?
Stupid idiot, and I'm on a list.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Chaos says Richard Greco, if I'm pronouncing that last name right, who was the ghostwriter, voice actor, Fantastic Four, and the Hulk cartoon and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, recommends Sound of Freedom on Twitter/X. And then he's still hesitant with the live action One Piece. I think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be what everyone is still asking for. And I asked this question, kind of an open-ended question earlier before you guys got on. Is it good just because of the fact that we've gotten so much stupid crap being shoved in our mouth and being terrible that we're just going to be willing, like, yeah, it's good enough, like sort of thing? Like my go-to is, if you want to,
the people that are having breakdowns about media all the time because most of it's awful, and I get it. Like I understand their frustration. They are loving it. Like that tells you the people that were ready, like they were getting their YouTube videos all prepped like a week early and were writing titles like One Piece sucks balls, Netflix should go to hell and die. Like, stupid things like that. Like everything sucks, pronouns, bleh. Those same people were like, oh snap, it's actually pretty awesome. I guess I'll make a video about why it's awesome. Like, even they were confused. They're like, hey, I got something good to talk about. I'm excited. So when the unsatisfiable are like, whoa, this is pretty good, that's a sign to me that it's probably pretty good. Like they're the people that love it the most. So I trust their opinions because they respect the source material and they know One Piece. If people that sat through the thousands of episodes and manga love it, that's a good sign. Because even though I've heard it's good, you'll never get me to read every One Piece manga. You'll never get me to watch every One Piece cartoon. It's just too much. It's too much for me at this age. If I was like 19, sure. I'm old now, man. That's work. So,
any input, Ace, or just taking it all in?
No, I think we're in a different era now. I think there was a reason why I'm a fan of the original X-Men movies, but I also took them for what they were. And then I think that helped us graduate to what we saw in the MCU, where they could actually put Iron Man in a costume. They could put Cap in a costume. They could put Thor in a costume. We could get Hulk. So I think it gradually kind of graduated to that point. And I think now it's the point where now, if anybody wants to be successful, lean in to like what's on the page. Now's that time to like stop the adaptations and actually do like Zach did for Watchmen and just go almost word for word. Like you can tweak a couple things here, but now's the time to really lean in if you want to win. Because we've seen these terrible, well, I haven't seen these terrible movies, but just from the trailer, just from seeing a couple scenes here and there, stuff like Flash, everybody, oh, Flash is gonna be the great. They had they've touted out Tom Cruise, from whatever he was doing. Oh, Flash is great. No, Flash looked terrible from the start. I love Michael Keaton, best Batman ever. The moment I saw that trailer, I'm like, nah, you're not getting me with this. So I think now's the time where we need to clean house, This the last phase of MCU has failed terribly, and it's time to really go back to the stories, the character arcs, go back to basics. And I think that's how you'll start getting people's interest again. Because I think like the talk about superhero fatigue. Yeah, people are fatigued of terrible movies. They're fatigued of the same joke every 5 minutes. Nothing serious, no stakes. You know, female empowerment scenes for no reason that have nothing to do with what's going on in the script. You know, Shang-Chi, whatever the fuck that guy, why did he get a movie? Like, literally the thousandth character I would pick to do a movie of in the Marvel universe alone, not even counting DC, and somehow he gets a movie. Like, no, now's the time to really kind of go back to basics. Like adapt Ultron Unlimited for the next Avengers. You know, like literally just go through that storyline. Look at what Kurt Busiek and George Perez did, and bring
Yeah.
that to life. You will literally get that could make 2 billion. That's how good
Yeah.
that script is, and with those actors, with everything that they've set up. Like you don't need a whole new anything. They have the base. They just need to clear these lame script writers, these nobodies that they can't. Bring the Russo brothers. They know what they're doing. Give them a legit comic book script that they can follow and adapt, and watch the money roll in. It's literally the simplest thing in the world. But instead, we're gonna get like, you know, the female Avengers or whatever other nonsense. That's gonna, and then they're gonna be like, why did this fail? Because nobody asked for it. So
Yeah.
like,
Nobody wants.
yeah. Now's the time to lean in, guys. That's the only advice that I can give. That goes for everybody. That goes for video games. That goes for any
Yeah.
adaptation of books, movies, TV shows. Lean into the source material. Now's the time. You people are starving for it, man. Like there's people like me. I don't touch movies. I haven't watched a TV show in forever. Like there's been so much garbage. I've detoxed, man. Like I'm good. I saw that terrible ass Hellboy remake, and I said, nope, no more superheroes. That's it for me. And I'm somebody who used to watch everything, even if I was in sex ed, I still give it a shot. After all this bullshit, I'm like, no, we're not playing with that anymore. So there's tons of people like me who I know, like there's people who like, oh, I love like the first up until Endgame. I haven't seen anything since then. Those people, they won't make a big deal about it. Those people, they'll just go on and do something else. And you want to get the reason these movies aren't making money. And the fact is, considering all the budgets, and now we're finding out that Disney underreported the numbers. Shocker. Nobody saw that coming. Yeah. What are you telling me? Endgame wasn't 300 million. It was 600 million. Oh, shock. Really? All that star power, all that CGI, all that it wasn't 300 million. Oh, shocker! So yeah, just like I said, like now's the time. You want to get that superhero fatigue done with. You want to start making money again. Lean into source material.
But I'll tell you what won't make you money is when you go on strike, such as SAG-Aftra.
Yeah, going on strike doesn't help.
According to Niche Gamer, demands video game companies join writers' strikes. Good
job.
You beautifully segued into the next topic. Nick over on Rumble says, I agree with Ace. I was thinking that Hollywood eventually got good with doing costumes that were normally not good over 20 years ago. Shang-Chi tried to get into that China market, boy. I don't watch movies either. I watch random people streaming 10 times more interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah. Me too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now,
YouTube's a game changer, man. YouTube can literally, you can kill so much time on YouTube. So unless I have a reason to not be on the YouTube app, you're fighting an uphill battle, because I could always find something on YouTube to watch.
Guys with $200 worth of equipment that they may have just got from friends, even I can attest, like my extra microphone, half the stuff I got, somebody just gave to me. Like I didn't need a $500 million budget. Like there's people that are getting more views or videos than Hollywood's getting on a film with the smallest budget you could imagine. So it's quality over quantity, man.
Mm-hmm. Nick says, "Don't feel like you have to read all of my comments. You're just here to write stuff." Hey, I'm here to talk with you guys. So,
Nick, we love you.
right now we have 8 viewers over on Rumble, 2 on YouTube. Chaos and you are talking, right now, it's not like we have a Nick Rekieta stream where it's like sort of thing. Then that'd be different. But, right now, that's why streaming is so cool and stuff. That's why it's organic. Every stream is a new stream, regardless of the schedule and stuff like that. And you can relate to people right then and there.
And if we are at a point later where like streams are hitting, 1,000 live viewers, guess whose names are going to stand out? The people that were here commenting back when there were only 8 viewers.
Mm-hmm. Wink.
Those are the guys that still get talked to.
Do that gay wink.
Yeah. Hey, Nick. That's what I'll say.
Hey, boy.
I'll say it like he's a pretty girl. Yeah. Hey, Nicky Poo.
Oh, gosh. So this just made me laugh. And I know this has been kind of old news. I mean, this article was on September 3rd. So, kind of 3 days behind sort of thing. But I just laughed at this, like that now they're demanding now the video game industry to comply with them. And this is why I think unions, and we talked about this, I believe on the last time when you were on, Joe, about unions in general and stuff like that. The concept of unions makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be what they're claiming to do. Because look at this. Now you're having people, you're having the higher up saying, if we catch any of you other people taking work, being a fucking scab, you're gone. So they're threatening you to that. But yet you're already losing money because you're not working. And now these people think that they can go and bully the video game industry and stuff like that. Dude, if I was a right to work actor and stuff, you can go ahead and call me a scab all you want because I need to pay the fucking bills. And for the amount of like these people complaining that they don't make enough money and you're going on strike and not working and you're declaring that you're living hand to mouth or, like.
Well, that's because there's a lot more that plays into that. It's not that they don't make a lot of money. It's that they made a choice to be in places that cost an incredible amount of money to live in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where these kind of industries exist. So it's like, what do you want from people? We can't solve every single problem for you. You've got to choose your battles in life, just like every other adult.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cannot, if 250K a year is not enough to make it in Southern California, well then guess what? Either find a way to make more money or get out of Southern California because it's still enough money to get out. You know what I mean? It's not so expensive. You can't make a plan and leave within 3 months when you're at that kind of a pay scale.
I think it's also like, I agree exactly what you're talking about too, Joe, like very good points. I also think it's just a power means.
Oh, big time. Well. That's 90% of it. Yeah, it's power. Yeah, they just hate
it's all about power,
control.
And like one of the prime examples I think about is way back in the day when Bayonetta 3 came out. Helena Taylor claimed that she got gypped off, that she didn't get paid what she thought she should have been paid. And then Jennifer Hale, who replaced her, made comments about this and stuff. And then it turned out that Helena wasn't really telling the truth. But let's say she was telling the truth. Would Jennifer Hale, after that these big higher up voice actresses and voice actors and stuff who claim that they're doing this for the little people that are in the industry too, would she said, you know what? Helena isn't getting paid, and based on what I'm saying, I'm stepping down and I'm going to give the money that I got from doing that role to her? Would she do that? Would any of these people do that?
No, they won't. They're greedy and they're off. That's the whole thing. They don't care. They don't take immigrants in their homes.
Again, my advice to anybody in the acting community and stuff like that, find those right to work places. And just stay there. It may suck because they can just terminate you whenever you want. They don't need to really give you a reason. But right now, I'd be super happy if I was not part of the union and right to work state. And people would probably be like, you're a fucking scab. You should be supporting the cause. It's like, dude, you motherfuckers wouldn't. I guarantee you guys won't help me if I got screwed over.
They won't support anyone else. They're only doing it because of peer pressure. 90% of those people don't want to be out there walking in a circle holding their gay signs.
Chaos Smash moved over to Rumble so that he could say, All I got to say is, good job, fag. Yeah, the Film Actors Guild. This is really what they are.
The Film
Mark
Actors
Hamill,
Guild.
for example. Like Mark Hamill and his stupid comments and stuff. It's like, oh my gosh.
What a disgusting guy. It tells you how good actors are. A guy that is absolutely a complete, disgusting lowlife still has generations of people tricked because he played a good guy. He pretended to be a good guy so well in a movie 40 years ago.
So, yeah, I mean, that's all, gosh, all rabbit holes we could talk about. Mark Hamill, like, as that as well. Won't deny that he was a good actor as Luke, and he did an amazing job as voicing the Joker and stuff.
Mhm.
But one of those prime examples of maybe not, don't follow your idols because they'll reveal who they really are.
He's a gross individual.
Yeah, look at like Ron Perlman. Just
Oh yeah,
total weirdo. Total just lunatic weirdo.
Yeah. Like there's got to be something wrong with him. Like it's that level. It's like there's got to be something wrong with you. None of your behavior is anywhere in the realm of rational or normal or acceptable to the rest of society.
That's the cocaine after effects.
Hey. Let's not drag the fine name of cocaine into this and throw it under the bus because some, 5'6" shrimp named Ron Perlman, whose head is 90% of his height, can't handle his cocaine.
And
Everyone
defied gravity.
Coke under the bus. God didn't put the coke plants here so that we could not grind them down into a powder and snort them up after they'd been chemically condensed. Okay, I'll stop while I'm ahead.
No, that's all right.
How dare you, Joe? You know they're only put here to make Coca-Cola.
There you go.
That's their only purpose.
What I'd give to go back in time and drink old school Coca-Cola, you guys would be like, that guy has a soda problem.
I just like how
I want to go down to Mexico to get the good stuff.
Oh, there you
like
go.
You're here for Coke? Yes, cola.
Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Give me the good stuff. Taking it back to
that comedian that does Planet of the Bass? I can't remember his name. Little Jewish guy does the Planet of the Bass bit. It's like poking
fun at a handful of comedians.
Well, he's kind of an upstart. He's still relatively, but he does these bits on TikTok, and they're absolutely hilarious because it tells you like sometimes comedians make certain jokes where they were only making it because they're knowledgeable about time periods and history. Like it's just not normal knowledge, but he always does these like different historical bits, like husbands in the 1950s or kids in the 1800s, and when he does husbands in like the 1930s, like it's like the 30s or 40s, the first thing he does is he's in his costume and he walks out his front door and he's holding a Coca-Cola and he's shaking and he usually doesn't even curse. This is like one of those weird moments where he actually says a curse word. He goes, "Oh, this Coca-Cola is great. What the fuck are they putting in this shit?" And he's just shaking. It's hilarious because you're like, that's had to have been how it was. You just sit there tweaking and shaking, being like, this stuff's awesome. And you don't even know what's happening in your body.
Actually, never stood a chance,
Yeah.
Once you taste the real stuff, it's.
And Coke still, that's part of Coke flavor. It still has a cocaine flavor because they still use like it's almost like caffeine free, like the drug part is taken out, but you still get a touch of the flavor from it. That's what that Coca-Cola kick is. It's because they still literally use a little bit of cocaine to give it that flavor. It's just not, powdered stuff that's going to screw you up. So it's they're always going to have that monopolized. They're always going to have the best pop. It's just nothing tastes better than that Coke flavor. Here's the thing too. Once you do Coke, you'll love that flavor even more. You'll get a tickle in your tummy just thinking about it. You're like, oh, I gotta shake this off. I can feel the stuff controlling me, and I ain't even touched it.
At least they didn't use pneumonia.
They used ammonia. None of this is any good. Fuck!
That would be disgusting. If Coca-Cola had that cat piss flavor,
So, SAG-Aftra National Board has called on all major video game companies to meet them at the negotiation table and join their ongoing writer strike.
No.
Why? The Actors Union made the call for video game companies to join the ongoing writer strike in Hollywood as their umbrella stretches into writing for video games as well as movies, TVs, internet writers. So just shut down, just come out and just say we want to shut down all of Hollywood. And I guarantee you a lot of people probably won't mind it at all. Rise of the independents. Various major game publisher companies are mentioned in their announcement, and I guess there's a link here. The writer strike this year has been a much discussed and debated about topic in many media circles, as it directly affects a lot of their childhoods and operations in general, be it tangentially or directly. Among the grievances briefly mentioned are various concerns for many writers, producers, and organizers of this call to action. Concern ranged from the usage of AI to replace writers. Well, if they're shit writers, yeah, get rid of them. Voice actors, again, that was my biggest thing. I remember when the concept of AI, like the whole fear of AI replacing like these people's came, and man, did some voice actors freak out about that. And unfortunately, I was the one where I was like, good. I'm glad that this fear has been reintroduced into you, because the reality of this is you guys are all expendable. Like all of you guys are expendable. The unions obviously not, but definitely the right to work ones that I saw freaking out were hilarious. It's like, dude, you're expendable. Like you could be replaced the next day, because you hear these same people complain about how like they get tired of like people coming up and going, do you know you sound exactly like so and so? Like I've heard voice actors and actresses complain about that. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Like that's your job. What are you complaining about? But they're gonna. We know how Hollywood people are, and we know that they are prone to do things like this and complain and act like they all deserve more than what they do for the kind of work they're doing. And they just feel entitled to more and more and more, as if there's not other things that these companies have to pay for. It's like, you know what, writers and actors guild people, you're not the only ones trying to make money here. You're literally sucking up so much of a budget for a film. You really think the gophers that are sitting there trying to keep wires out of the way all day from you tripping on them are getting paid anywhere the scale you are, even though they're wasting their time on set all day too, getting treated like shit? Like you guys, you want the whole pie, not a piece of it. You want the whole pie, and you don't care if there's anything left for the other people there. And
so
it's the sleaze of Hollywood. It's the slime of these greedy people that think they're more valuable than what they are. I mean, you would think they would have taken a cue from how things went with streaming, that it's like, you're not special now. Yeah, you're going to do Netflix movies. Deal with it. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how big you've been. You're doing a Netflix movie. Get used to it, you bitch. It's just part of your life now. Change is not fun, but it's part of life. And your guys' time on top was taken out by COVID, just like a bunch of other people's things were taken out by COVID. So I'm bare minimum, if there's one thing COVID did do that was nice, it was a reality check to every rich person out there that how quick even their money can dry up, and their source of revenue, and being able to maintain a lifestyle that costs incredible amounts of money. The average person, they don't realize the average person could take $40,000 a year and feel pretty damn rich.
Mm-hmm.
These people can't pay $40K last a month and a half. And to the rest of us,
all that cocaine.
Yeah. Most of us can go on some vacations, you can do some nice things if after taxes you're making $40K a year. It's not a terrible quantity of money, especially if you don't have kids. It's relatively decent money. And these guys are just so out of touch, they don't realize it.
Well, apparently another one of their concerns is claiming that wages are too low now due to the skyrocketing cost of inflation in the United States. Oh, well, that was done by that guy that you kept promoting all the time.
Yeah.
That
you
one
mean
guy
the
supposedly
old man that harasses children on camera all the time?
Yeah, that weirdo.
Guys,
Of course,
totally unfair.
What was that?
I said this inflation is totally unfair. I wish we could do something about it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was told that at certain times it's the president's fault for it, and then other times it's not.
Right. No, still Trump's
Depending on
fault.
the
Even though
person.
he's in prison, it's still his fault.
Nope. So they have
Thanks, Trump.
the mission statement from SAG-Aftra. So SAG-Aftra brings together two great American labor unions, Screen Actors Guild, I prefer the Film Actors Guild, and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Both were formed in the turmoil of 1930s. And you guys still haven't got what you wanted? Let's see. You've had, what is that? 2023 minus 1930, 93 years to work this out.
They just need 7 more years.
Yeah, just give us a couple more. Give us that give us that even 100. I think
round hundy right there.
Yeah, round up that hundy. We'll be good. With rich histories of fighting for and securing the strongest protections for media artists, our members united to form the successor union in order to preserve those hard. I don't really want to hear this anymore. I'm already bored.
Blah 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 blah.
This stems from blah 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 actors, announcers, broadcast journalists, dancers, DJs.
Let's just accept anybody in there. Huh? Can I get a slot? You know, I did act in my friend's short film back in like 10 years ago. It was 20 years ago, however long it's been. You know, can I get a credit for that? You know,
but we got to make sure that the puppeteers get their fair share.
Of course.
Well, they want every creative gig and creation mushed in here when it's like, you guys are the reason those creative gigs don't do well in the first place. You're the ones that disrespected source material. You're the ones that disrespected the artist's original. You're literally responsible for everything that goes wrong here. And they wonder why no one cares. No one pays attention. Even most liberals don't have a hot take on this. It's like not even on their radar. And, you know,
everything that gets said is just regurgitated as well. It's the same regurgitation talking points. And
a bunch of keywords all slapped beside each other.
Well, the good thing is that this article is apparently rather short because all they did was to pad it was to throw in that mission statement. My point was that, and I actually went in to look on like when the SAG-Aftra skill was formed and all that stuff, and I'm glad that it was like there were like two separates and then they joined together. But the point of the fact is like they've been fighting for this like sort of equality, fairness for a long time. And it's like, well, how much and they're still claiming that well, it still isn't fair. Dude, like I said, you had 93 years to finally get sort this stuff out, or at least be comfortable to where you guys are at. I don't know what you guys what else you guys want, but it's like what you said, Joe. They want to make it to where pretty much right to work people don't exist anymore. And that they have
trying to force every kind of creative under their thumb. A lot of us don't want to be a part of your world. We don't want to be a part of your gay rally cries for nonsense like this. It doesn't mean anything to us. It's just generic and cheesy and embarrassing. And we're looking at some of the most spoiled people on planet Earth acting like giant victims. And it's like, no one's making you do these jobs. You know, I turned down plenty of gigs just because they don't pay enough to be worth my trouble. And it's nothing against the people that are bringing it to me. Some of the ideas are pretty cool. It's just I don't have time to jump on every cool idea I see. I've got enough cool ideas of my own I want to do. Ace has enough cool ideas I want. I'm going to be busy till I'm in a casket because there's just not enough years out there to do all of it. But these guys just got to understand, dude, none of us we all want to make more money. We all want our shit to be appreciated and to hold a certain standard.
Joe. Be right back.
Yeah, right on. But sometimes that value's just, it's not there. Especially when you
hold down the fort. I didn't forget you, buddy. Love you.
And unfortunately, they're not a necessity to our entertainment anymore, especially in the age of video games. I don't know the stats on this, Ace, but I would think that at this point, video games have kind of usurped the levels of money you could make on a entertainment that was kind of almost exclusive to Hollywood and music. Because now, once MySpace came into play, you didn't need record labels anymore. In fact, that's almost like a dead thing to be seeking out a label to sign you, because you can just make more money on your own now with the reach of the internet. Um, Same with movies, like in video games. Like video games got that market locked down enough. They don't need to placate to anybody. They're selling games no matter what. It's culturally in place now. So, and despite the pronouns and all that stuff, like video games have to be as bad as Disney has been for 10 years. I think video games would have to go that bad for like 15 to 20 before people would finally stop spending money, at least in the States. I know it's different in other countries, but 'cause you know how it is in Japan. If something sucks for a year, it's going to go out of business.
Yeah.
You don't get 10 and 12 years of blindly loyal fans to keep your thing alive. If your product starts sucking in those places, people just close their pocketbooks off. And here in the States, people have some weird. It's like nerd tribalism almost. You know, like
Yeah.
like I'll put to you this way: I'm tribalistic about my Bengals, but like I wasn't going to games all year when they were awful because it wasn't a fun thing to do. I would just watch it on TV if I knew I was going to be let down. You know, I'm not gonna spend, you know, a couple $1,000s every year to have season tickets if it's not worth that money to me. It is worth that money to me now because it's an entertaining product. It's a good product being marched out on the field every Sunday, and it's worth it to me. But yeah, they can't just expect people to be pay pigs forever if the products are just not matching up to the expectations, and then complain like it's our fault we don't want to buy their shit. It's like, well, make better stuff, and then you wouldn't have to worry about things like SAGs and FAGs and this and that's and all these different groups of people that want more money from something that ain't making more money.
You wouldn't have to worry about piracy as well, which Rockstar Games are apparently got caught selling cracked games on Steam.
What are cracked games? What's that mean?
Pretty much someone has figured out to hack codings into of a game and allow you just to play it for free.
But how is Rockstar selling? Is it their games that they're selling that are cracked?
We'll get into the article, but a cracked game is when like you can get the game, but the built inside the programming, if I can understand it correctly, they have an authentication sort of thing happening. Well, people figured out how to hack into it and to get rid of it, bypass it, or crack it to where it's the full game unlocked and everything like that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't 100% know like what really goes behind it, but like cracked stuff has been happening forever. Like what you would do, like a lot of cracks, what happened is you would get the demo version. Like if you're wanting to use Adobe Photoshop or something like that, people will just say download the trial version, have the trial version, and then they create a cracked version that you'll replace the the main exe file, and the coding changes everything to unlock it. Pretty much is how it works.
I gotta admit, I'm a little let down. I was hoping next time I bought a copy of Grand Theft Auto, there would be actual crack rocks inside.
Well, no, unfortunately, not that.
Wait, you have to special unlock, at the end. So
the special unlock, yes.
Okay,
your Xbox spits out a few crack rocks at you.
Oh my gosh!
Two-way unlocked.
No, I didn't know there were crack rocks hiding inside this machine all these years. Shit.
So apparently, users have found that some of Rockstar's game on Steam have been previously cracked. Game developer and modder Silent found cracking group tags while looking at the hex code for some of Rockstar's games on Steam. By looking into the .exe files for apparently these games, Midnight Club 2, Manhunt, and Max Payne. I'm not surprised about Max. Max Payne's a dope game. That's a great one.
So fucking good. Like it's.
The Max Payne.
The fact that people don't talk about it like they should, it kind of pisses me off. Like it literally is a fantastic game. Like,
Oh yeah, it's a great trilogy. Great
yeah,
trilogy. Max Payne 3 was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Max Payne 3 is insane. Like, literally, I was so worried that it wouldn't like live up to it, but when it did, it just made me giddy. It's one of the few games that I kind of was still gaming at. I basically tapped out of like the PS4, so like I
Mhm.
don't even know what's going on after that. But those games, man, like Max Payne, like God of
They're
War
good.
3, all those are fantastic.
Yeah. And that's why I appreciate the modding community and stuff like that, because people who really love the game, like for example, Max Payne, there's people that have went into it and created HD textures that the company may not even do. And then you just replace the files to it, make it beautiful. People hack like widescreen versions, some games to where it may not even run properly. And that's the thing too, is some games get released that have bugs in them or can just not work on modern computers. The modding community goes in there and fixes that sort of problem because the company doesn't want to waste money into it. And then of course there's like your translation patches and stuff like that to games that may have never came over to the US, but they should have, and because it's like amazing. So by looking into apparently the exe files of these games, the modders found that even Rockstar didn't bother with their own DRM and resold cracked copies instead. Ah, oh no. This is what I'm talking about. But this is also something that's kind of been the argument for people like against Nintendo who make examples of people and really crack down on piracy and stuff like that. Is like, how much do you really give a crap about your old licenses and stuff like that? Because you're not renewing them. Like when Nintendo took down MU Paradise, which was actually an archive to some very rare games that one, no one's gonna go out and spend thousands of dollars to buy. Number two, the license, I guarantee you, hasn't been renewed. And three, you're not making money off of these licenses anymore, sort of thing.
It's just because they're Japanese. Like it's copyrights are borderline cultural over there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I can't tell you how many times I've read interviews or things related to Japanese content where they're talking to like, the executives that run the company, not the creators, not all the people that make, just the guys that run it and make sure everything's going smoothly. And anytime someone brings up kind of like them
Piracy.
being weird about their copyright on things that are aiding them, like for example, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they went through a spat where they started cracking down on everyone on YouTube that had a clip, a photo, anything. It didn't matter how minute it was. And you can watch here's them trying to make it in the US. They're doing great, and then that happened. And then their decline in the US started. You can literally track it to when they got all fucking super weird. And no matter how many times guys that had worked for them for 20 some years that were from the West tried to explain to them that these are fans getting the word out. These are fans that have been pushing your product for free. It's free advertisement. And you're literally taking a shit on them by attacking them all the time with over copyright stuff when they're not trying to resell your product. They're not trying to they're happy. They're just trying to get it out there. And you could not get through to them. The Japanese execs, it did not compute in any way. No matter how you explained it, no matter how you phrased it, in their heads, it's my copyright. I'm in charge of protecting this. No. And that's how they all are. And it's and I don't mean all as in like their entire society. I'm talking from the business perspective. They super duper weird about copyright. And it's strange because you'll see some cases where they'll seem kind of loosey goosey, or they'll work with other companies on like a handshake, and it's like, yeah, because they feel like they allowed it. If you did the tiniest thing outside of them, they just take it personally, and it's honestly it's a little irritating to me as well. And I simp for the Japanese all the time, and despite the fact that they do things like that are super frustrating, because it's like you're not helping your cause here. Everyone just thinks you're just being assholes. We all looked at you like, Nintendo's like the home of Mario and Pikachu, bright, colorful, happy things that have been giving us joy since we were little kids. Don't get weird with people. Just let them keep enjoying your products. Like, stop. Hasbro's great at this. Hasbro, if everyone thinks because they've done some woke stuff and they have some liberals up there that they're just like maniacal communist. It's like Hasbro to this day. If you want to reproduce um, toys from molds that they have zero plans on using anytime soon, they say that's fine. Just change the name. That's all we ask is don't impede on the trademarks. As long as you're changing the name, we don't care if you reproduce things that were never like Star Wars. You would think Disney and Hasbro would be going after these custom makers, and they're not. There's guys that literally produce Star Wars toys that look like vintage toys down to the packaging. They mass produce this stuff, and they've been doing it for 10 and 12 and 15 years now with no legal issues because Hasbro says this guy is just trying to offer collectors products we will never make because our clientele is children and his clientele are adult collectors. We only cater to about 15% adult collectors. The other 80% are little kids. So they're fine with it. And I wish more people were like that because Hasbro gets dumped on all the time and gets zero credit for the fact that I can take a Transformer mold from 2 years ago, reproduce a zillion of them, and call them Froptimus Prime, the brave Godobot, and they'll go, that's fine, run with it. You didn't call him Optimus, you called him Troptimus. We're good, we're fine. Have your fun, make your money. Like there's just nobody like that anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For those that not familiar with the early 2000s gaming, a lot of PC ports came with obnoxious DRM services. This is kind of what I was talking about, Joe. Like games for Windows Live, which still plagues some releases and breaks games upon removal. It seems like even companies are now having to deal with the consequences of invasive DRM, as they themselves cannot reverse engineer their own games without breaking, thus having to ship a crack.exe on Steam. And that's the whole article. I just thought it was funny because it's like the modding community is very big and very generous just for the people who go out of their way to fix bugs to allow you to play games on recent technology. Now you're going to
And
have
they're
your
just
old
doing things that other people won't do. Let the mods do it. They're just helping people have fun with something that, you know, unless you guys release an anniversary edition, it doesn't matter. These are products like Max Payne. How long ago was that game? Talking 2009, last time it was relevant.
oh geez, maybe even
Like
earlier.
it's just odd to me. Isn't selling a cracked game though more like hooking up the customers? Or am I wrong?
Selling a crack game? Well, you
Yeah,
don't.
like
Well, if we're gonna go into piracy, number one, never buy a crack game to anybody because you can literally find it online. A crack game makes it for free, so you should not be buying something that's been cracked, sort of
God.
thing. It's
Okay,
kind of like
okay.
this. It's kind of like the Star Wars despecialized edition, where people bought a bunch of Laserdisc authentic film reels and stuff like that, and despecialized Lucas's version to be it as original as possible. It's that sort of thing where those people give that to you for free. Like you have to get like your original copy and stuff like that, but
So
their
Rockstar
copy
was taking someone else's work for all intents and purposes and then selling that to the public when it's they didn't even do that. Didn't do the cracking part. This was completely just mods being nice with their time and their energy.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is too. Because a lot of it is just groups of like, hey, we like this game. Like for example, translation patches. It's like, hey, we like this game. Never came out to the U.S. We think people should play it. Let's go ahead and do it. You can go to literally a website called romhacking.net where there's people just doing tons of personal projects of video games where it's like, I like this game. Had a lot of bugs in it. I'm gonna go fix it. Boom, 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 boom.
That's the only way you can get some games too that aren't in a that are in a language you
Yep.
can read and understand what's happening. There's a lot
Yes.
of Famicom games I only knew about because of ROMs where
That's
people hid.
exactly. There's actually been a very. I think it was actually. No, I don't think it was Earthbound or Mother, as the Japanese title of it actually is. But there is actually a rather really big game to where it got bigger, and they think they continue it because a translation group made an English patch and gave it out to something.
Yeah.
Let's see. Max Payne, just to answer your question. Yeah, like 2001. Yeah, Max Payne 2001, Max Payne 2 2003, Max Payne 3 2012. Yeah, and people still love Max Payne 3 or Max Payne
So there's a
trilogy.
pretty big time gap between the second and third one.
Yeah.
So yeah, those you
Yep.
people are loyal. They were able to
Yeah.
go that many years and just drop another one.
Mother
That's all.
3.
A
Yeah,
lot of
Mother
people
3.
were nervous about that one, man.
I'll bet.
You know, just like the hype coming up, you're like, "Ooh, better live up to it," you know. And then when it did, you're just like, "Yes, this is what we
Yes.
wanted."
It was a great game too. One of those unique games that I remember of they implemented. That's when I think they really started, because they actually not only did they kind of bring about the slow down while you're shooting people, slow motion.
Yeah, the bullet
Max
time.
Payne,
Oh yeah.
kind of introduced that to what a lot of games do nowadays too. But I remember Max Payne 3 when you were out of bullets, instead of the casual just run over the ammo and it says you picked it up sort of thing, like you would ditch the gun entirely and pick up a whole new one, and you would hold that gun while you would switch out between them. And then once you were out of ammo, you ditched it and went and grabbed another bad guy's gun. That was something unique. I remember Max Payne 3 doing it.
That was crazy.
Like that sort of detail and stuff. They didn't do and that's another one too, where a lot of games, when you're switching between guns, they do a magnetic sort of switch. Like in Gears of War, when you see them like reach to pick up the chainsaw, you see how it kind of magnetizes just towards their back sort of thing. Max Payne 3 was unique to where he was just holding it, and once you were done, you saw him toss it away, go and pick up the other one. That sort of stuff too.
Guys, making me hyped to play it now.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. Well, we're getting to the 2-hour mark, and I want to get to kind of the main talking point of what I want to talk about nowadays, or not nowadays.
Here comes the real hype.
Here comes the real hype, and that's kind of the traction of what's happening nowadays, and that is with Starfield and the whole pronoun drama that's happening that's taking place with Starfield. And just kind of want to give my thoughts about it, and of course you guys are more than welcome to chime in as well. So Starfield was released not even a week, like a couple days ago, and a lot of people are putting comments and releasing videos about the obvious pronoun part of the game. When you're going through the character creation, you get towards the end, you're typing in your name, and you see clearly up there pronoun he, him, she, her, they, them, that stuff. And it really got traction when certain people responded to it. You guys probably know heel versus babyface, or as. That's kind of the big one that really exploded. I've heard Dr. Disrespect said some stuff too. Someone who I've chatted with and trying to get on schedule a show and really enjoying her content. Nina Infinity kind of got some major heat by making a tweet asking to and did get a refund from it, just for that not for that specific reason. I don't want to put words in her mouth. I do have some stuff open, but it was buggy for her. And I was actually watching that live stream too. And so I have pulled up here Az's response. So we'll go ahead and kind of pull that up. And there's something I want to point out too when it's coming to this. In fact, Nina's doing a show right now kind of talking about why the whole pronoun thing is such a big deal. So once this show's over, I suggest people go over to watch her because I'm enjoying her content too. So here's Az.
I just want to say something to you, Bethesda. Just want to say a little something. There is nothing I love more. Taking my headphones off. Fuck that. Bethesda, there is nothing I love more than to sit down, comfy chair, turn on my PC, fire up a brand new RPG, lose myself, think, oh my God, just think of this world, just think of all the planets I can visit, all the immersive things that I can get involved with, all the fights, all the relationships, all the people I meet, all the places I go. I'm so excited to go there. And you know, I love nothing more than with all of that laid out in front of me, I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every fucking conceivable opportunity so you can fucking current day us. Sorry, do you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring! We can't see past our own fucking reflection! That's the level of our narcissism here at Bethesda Western Game Company! Fuck your immersion. Fuck you having a good time. Fuck you falling into a world and just getting lost. No, no, no. Current fucking day. Fuck off.
And what you
You're
said is
boring.
true, Joe. Like, all
You're
of his points are
dull.
valid points.
You have nothing to say.
Exploded with
You are a one
a lot of
mind
pushback.
twat
A lot of
waffle.
pushback. Same with Nina.
That's all you fucking are. And you wonder why people are getting so fucking sick and tired. You take everything we love, all our immersions, all our fantasies, all our escapism, and you just can't help shovel your dog shit, fucking crap ideology into everything, every single
And that's the key thing. I think that's the key thing that we need to remember that we'll comment on a little bit. The ideology about it, because a lot of that's pretty much it. A lot of the pushback that he got from people, and as you can see, even from retarded Hassan here, this weird British guy losing his mind over selecting pronouns in Starfield is perfect. So a lot of people who push back against what Az was talking about try to downplay the fact of like, oh, you know, you can pick which pronouns you want. It's hardly in the game. It doesn't really affect the game. It doesn't affect the story. That is their main arguments to Starfield. And I'll even extend it over to Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate 3 has the same thing, but a lot of people focused on the bear fucking scene, where a guy who transforms into animals transforms into a bear, and apparently you bet about this. And there's other sexual stuff too. But
that's actually peak, California.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, that's
people that think it's normal to fuck dogs and shit. It's like, yeah, that sounds about right. You're the fucking people that would come up with something so stupid and weird, gross. Like, yeah, stop infusing your weird shit into every single thing. It's exhausting.
So Az was someone who was getting a lot of the pushback and stuff, and of course a lot of people who support what he was talking about. I do, because I do agree 100% exactly what he's saying, and that is this ideology that the people who are trying to argue against it, and our beloved Lofty was on this side arguing against it as well, are failing to realize the fact that they're straight up trying to, whenever you see pronouns pop up, they want you to think of them defining what pronouns are and whatnot. It's that thought control that they're trying to do it. Now, I was watching Nina Infinity give her thoughts on it too. So she posted out a tweet saying, I almost refunded my game when Starfield asked me for my pronouns. I still might. I'm annoyed about it. Now I'm going to say this right now. I watched that portion of her stream live when she was doing it. I clipped the portion of it less than 5 minutes than what she was complaining about. Less than 5 minutes. She said exactly what she said. She's like, oh, it's like, I'm almost ready to refund this game. Jokingly. It wasn't like she was flying off the handle and stuff like that. You can see the stream. You can go back. You can go on her channel and watch the stream. But she jokes about it. She was clearly annoyed, like she said, and she's like, oh, SJWs, like, why? Annoying and stuff. And she goes through everything, and she goes to the creation, and she gets to the pronoun, like she was at the pronoun section. So she's typing out her name. She's doing all this stuff. The game doesn't allow you to change the pronouns. The only selections you have, and what I'm saying, let me rephrase that, custom pronouns. The game has it to where you can select he, him, she, her, they, them, and it will default depending on who you pick, a male or a female sort of thing.
So you're saying there's only two genders?
Well, this is the point that people fail to realize is in her stream, she joked about to where she's like, well, if I'm going to have to pick a pronoun, I should be able to customize whatever fucking pronouns I want. The game doesn't let you. So she says, updated, I refunded Starfield. I had major issues with the frame rate. You watch her stream, she did. In fact, when she literally got done creating her customization of her character, like the audio sync was off in the cutscene right then and there. So issues
How
were
obnoxious, dude. These games are expensive.
Issues where I would talk to an NPC and their mouths didn't move, but I could hear the audio. It happened multiple times. I may have let the pronoun things go if the game was close to perfection. It's not. It's terribly glitchy. I had less issues with Cyberpunk at launch. So she made these tweets, and as you can see, she got like super tons of traction. Tons of traction. And I'll say this right now before we advance to it. The people who are sending her death threats, hoping she gets raped, all that stuff. I cannot wait till God fucking cuts you down like the pieces of shit that you are. There's absolutely no reason why you need to send that sort of stuff too. And I will be having a big old smile when Judgment Day comes and I'm listening to God ripping you a new asshole as you're about to be tossed into the lake of fire. Go fuck yourself, fucking faggots.
Well,
anyway.
You got to understand that like at least 60% of pop culture fans are like mentally ill. Unfortunately, it's not that. What it is there's a lot of mentally ill people that attach themselves to their fantasy, and then they want to enact their real life fantasy and make that part of everyone being forced into it through the games that they know everyone else is going to play. So here's the thing. I get her frustrations because I think that's mostly valid stuff. Clearly the pronouns was kind of bottom of the list, you know, it was just a minor inconvenience at the time. But I even understand Lofty's perspective in terms of like people being consistent with their stuff. But I think what he was not taking into account, especially let's say from Az's reaction more than Nina's, because Nina's stuff was more, it was the actual gameplay and issues with the game. Whereas it's more like you've ruined it before I even got into the game. Like you're already ruining it before I've even had a chance to see what's happening in this game. What Lofty's not understanding is this is a boil over for nearly 10 years of this shit. It's not that people didn't notice it before. It's that it's constant. It's irritating. It's literally a fucking fly that keeps flying around your head. You swear to God you've killed it 6 times now, and the goddamn thing just keeps on buzzing around and irritating you still.
Well,
it's the volcanic eruption of years of it. It's not like people aren't consistent. It's now it's boiling over.
Well, here's the thing that I understood where Lofty was coming from, but first and foremost, his original reaction is disingenuous. It's disingenuous, and he flip-flops his argument because later on in certain tweets, his argument is, well, what I'm trying to say is that it's stupid that you're overreacting over pronouns and you're not being consistent because you weren't freaking about this specific game. Now, some people will bring up Pokemon as an example. I made some comments on when this was all happening and stuff, and people were like, oh, you ever played Pokemon? Pokemon is 100% different because that was during a time where no one was a fucking idiot when it came to knowing who they were as a person. You were a male or you were a female, and the pronouns just came as they were because no one was confused about anything.
It's because the pronouns had context. They weren't just whatever you felt like. They had context of what was happening.
And this is what I'm talking about. And this is what Nina was talking about too. And I guarantee you this is what Az was talking about too. Is they are rewriting it. They are doing that thought control to where now when you see pronouns, you think of them and you think of them as being whatever 100+ pronouns now exist in the world. And they're going to take that because they've weaponized it. They use it as a sword and shield sort of method. They use it as a shield because they have instigated it that when you disagree with using their pronouns, you somehow dehumanize them as a human being. It's a fucking lie, first of all. And that justifies them to react accordingly, i.e. get you canceled and stuff like that. So they'll use that as a shield, but then they'll also use it as a sword to beat you down and to also threaten to cancel you if you don't follow along with their delusion and their mental illness.
Yeah.
So they are doing that. And I've said this before, and I've said this when it came to movies, and they are rewriting history that was already established in reality, and they are applying their definition to games in the past. So whenever you hear people say, well, you know, pronouns back in RPGs, when you would say male and female and stuff, that was like way back in 2000. That's not the point. The point is
they weren't political. They weren't
Exactly.
based on
They weren't
political
political.
nonsense at the time.
So
Yeah, and it wasn't.
So this is
And no
kind
one
of,
was calling themselves Zer. You know, it just wasn't a
so
thing.
this is where I personally think that Lofty was disingenuous. So someone asked, can you just opt out, or is the pronoun thing forced? Now take in mind of to what we just said and what the pronoun selector has. He, him, she, her, they, them. Is the pronoun thing forced? Yes, it is forced. And what Nina's talking about when she says forced, she's saying the game does not start. The game starts with you making sure that you picked the correct pronouns that you want to have. And this is where Lothy says, where everyone has pronouns, whether you like it or not. You use she, her pronouns, Nina. Laugh my ass off. This game just lets you make your own decisions if you want to. If not, you use the default gender ones like you do in real life. This is a manufactured outrage. This is a lie, Lofty. This is a disingenuous lie. Because Nina's point and other people's point is that the pronoun selector shouldn't have been in the game at all because it's common sense. Because think about it. And especially the fact that the only pronouns that you can pick are, again, he, him, she, her, they, them. It would be 100% different if, like, you clicked toggle between the pronouns and it's the 100 plus whatever bullshit pronouns that they have out nowadays. 100% different. But the fact is they only have pronouns for a male, a female, and then mental illness.
Yeah.
Means that you did not need to have the game at all. And this is, again, their argument as to why are you getting mad, bro? It doesn't affect the story, bro. There's not much wokeness that you're claiming is in there, bro. They don't have it in the game, period. If you're saying it is that minute of a detail, it didn't need to be in there. And that's the same argument with Baldur's Gate.
Well, why not just use male, female, or other? Why do you even need he and him? If you're a he, you're already a him. If you're a she, you're already a her.
This is the thing. Is that if you're a trans male, you're going to be creating the character that you see that you are, and it's going to default to that said pronoun stuff. So you're getting what you want. You understand what I'm saying? Like
placating to a bunch of people that are a very small minority of the actual even video game audience. You know, it's whatever.
Chaos
Go
says,
ahead.
damn it, Lofty and I was starting to like you. My point is, and this is what I said with Baldur's Gate with the bear fucking scene, because I made a comment about that too, and people are saying, dude, it's not part of the game. And I'll say this right now, I'll probably will play Baldur's Gate at the end of the day. I will play it because I like Baldur's Gate. But when you have a toggle switch that turns off the bear sex scene or turns off any of the sexual scenes and stuff like that, or it's not part of the main story, or it really doesn't affect the romancing of the characters, or it's there for just a joke, then it didn't need to be in there at all, period.
Yeah, it's not funny. Sorry, guys. Animal sex isn't really funny.
So what your point, like what Nina was talking about, what I'm talking about and stuff like that, is that we see the poison and we're simply shining a spotlight on it. Now, I'm also one to where sometimes you got to step into the enemy's battlefield, you know, if you're going to like make a point and stuff like that. And that's what she's getting at too. But Lofty here is being disingenuous. So he's claiming she's doing this for manufactured outrage. She says, no, it made me choose between she, her, he, him, or they, them. Yes. It did not give you a choice to opt out. Yes, you had to pick one. It didn't give you a choice to write your own. I would have written Queen/Your Highness as my pronouns. You're literally lying, Nina, LOL, and it's easy to prove, and I'll do it on my stream later. This is disingenuous, Lofty. I'm sorry, but you are being a disingenuous asshole with this too. And I watched the video, and it's exactly what we've talked about. Is him saying it's the default. Like, you don't have to pick that. Pick the pronouns that are appropriate to you. It should default to it. That's not, again, that wasn't the point to any of this. The point is that you're trying to normalize it and just have it be there and have the definition of it be of what these people are saying, and then apply it to what everyone knew what was common knowledge back in the day, to old games. That's what they're doing with it.
Yeah, like honestly, I got a lot of thoughts on this, but I think
I mean,
I'm
we
gonna
can
share it on my stream
we
Sunday.
can still go if you wanna.
Go check out Drawing Aces YouTube channel. I'll share all my thoughts that I have on this here.
Yeah. Do you have a link to your YouTube thing?
Sure.
Well,
Here's the
just
thing.
I just come here to hang out with you and Joe. You know that. I'm completely unprepared. Like, if I want to promote, I'll be here. I'll be on camera. I'll be doing the whole thing. But sometimes I just like to come on stream and bullshit.
Here's the thing too with Nina and Lofty is you can go back nearly a year, maybe even a little further, and they have bumped heads on yellow flashes. Like, I could be wrong. Bear in mind, this is just an assumption because I'm friends with both of them. I like both of them. I actually know Lofty in real life, and I like Lofty a lot. He's a good human being.
I will say right now too.
I think they both think that each other are being disingenuous, even if each other isn't. You know what I mean? Like, when you've argued and beefed with one individual enough, you feel like they're just doing things to irritate you at that point. And I would not be shocked. And like I said, this is just me talking from like the outside looking in. I don't know any of this for fact. I've never discussed it with either of them because it's just not the kind of thing. Like with Nina, I'm usually like, thanks for helping my comic book make money. And with Lofty, I'm like, thanks for the movie suggestions. But I would not be shocked if to some degree they just don't, even if they are both being completely honest with where they're coming from, I can see them not believing it from each other. Because they've bumped heads so many times on these kind of topics. But I personally, I think they're both being honest with how they feel and what they think.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Even if one person's wrong and the other person isn't technically. But I know what you mean, and I understand what you're saying. It's just sometimes it's unfortunate because I'm like, you guys would be like best buds in real life. Like, if you just live near each other, you'd be hanging out all the time. Like, stop making these things to such an issue.
I'd like to specify too. I understand what Lofty's coming from, and I understand that like I understand his talking points, and I do agree with the talking points of what he's pointing out. And like what you said, as an outsider who actually watched Nina's streams and stuff, like, everyone got what she was talking about.
Yeah,
and that's
really the pronouns were minor. They were. For her.
And that's where my point of what I just showed you guys, like what Lofty reacted to. My biggest gripe of the whole thing is him calling her a liar. That's not true. That's the disingenuous part that I 100% agree with. She wasn't lying. She was stating exactly how it is. And even I understood what she was talking about with the whole pronouns things. Because he was trying to make the argument. You don't have to follow it. Like, it defaults to when you create a woman character, it's going to use the he, her pronoun. Again, that wasn't Nina's point. Nina's point is that pronoun selector thing that shows pronouns he, them shouldn't have been there at all, period. Because it should be an obvious. That's what I'm talking about. What's up, Scott?
And I think that's fair. 100% fair.
Yep. But
South Park games, they fuck with everyone. I was looking at Scott's comment there.
Yeah,
South Park games,
what up? And again, like I read a lot of the tweets that Lofty was saying, and I agree what he's talking about. The one thing I'll only say is I did notice a change, because that was his hip from the fire comments when Nina's thing started happening, and then I personally noticed a little shift in the talking points later on. So
Yeah,
I'm just like, sorry, dude. Like, and I'm sure people can do it to me. I try to be as transparent as possible, but like, it's like, dude, you called her a liar when you 100% missed her point. And dude, like, come on, sort of thing.
Sometimes it's better to take a step back and just say, okay, I misunderstood where you were coming from there. This was all I was trying to say. Like, there's nothing wrong with people. Like, we're in this
Yeah.
weird point where, like, nobody can just take a step back and go, we were both, like, heated about two separate points about the same game, but separate issues of what was important or not important. And it's, I don't know, man. We're in this weird age where people just can't even say, like, I don't know. Like, I've gotten really used to, like, sometimes my wife or somebody asks me something, I'll be like, I don't know. Go ask someone else. Like, I'm not even going to pretend to to know shit about shit anymore.
I am posting on both Rumble and YouTube, Ace's YouTube channel. Check it out, man. Check it out, guys.
So, like,
sub his shit. But welcome, Scotty. Yeah, we're kind of on the tail end here. We went a little bit over around the 2-hour mark, but I wanted to get this main point in because I was definitely thinking about it. And the one thing that really upset me is the fact of, and Nina has shared it on her Twitter, the amount of these fucking weirdos like sending death threats and hoping that she gets raped and stuff like that. That's disgusting. That pissed me off.
I can't believe mentally ill people would say such things
I know, right?
to actual females.
But Scotty says it reminds me of how speedrunners who attend GDQ have to now have pronouns. And again, see, the thing is if you looked at the definition of pronouns in these early 2000 games, we understood what it meant. They purposely infiltrated this into change a thought process of now when you see pronouns, you think of, they're hoping that you think of their version, but what we see it as,
they want you to think that it has to do with how you feel about your gender that day. It's like, no, pronouns never had anything to do with how your brain felt about its gender that day. Pronouns were always what people had
injected into what was supposed to be.
This is their strategy. Like, you know, they soft play things into like, they just let you, oh, little pronoun here, little thing there, and then 5 years from now, you know, there's bear fucking. You know, it's like
I've resparked
exactly.
Apparently, I've resparked Chaos's depression. Sorry,
Chaos.
Yeah.
We love you. We love you. Not in that way though, because
just snort some cocaine, Chaos. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Drink some coke, brother.
Now, when it runs out, you'll be super depressed, like way worse than you've ever been depressed before.
It is modern day poison injected in what was supposed to be a space and Avenger thing. Yep. I had this argument on Twitter, the disingenuous discourse is off the shelf. It isn't the fact that they were there, but that they shoved it down your throat because there is no NPC that acknowledges your choice. As says, they were lazy just putting things that are thought to be normal in everyday California. Yeah, we covered about it already. The point that Az and Nina and other people who brought this up, it was literally them shining a spotlight on it and say, hey, we see that poison that you put into this game, and everyone got pissed off about it. That's what it is. And South Park fractured butthole mocked it greatly. Exactly. Didn't see Lofty's convo before. Again, we all know Lofty. We all know his takes and stuff like that. I just wanted to point out the fact that Lofty's very first interaction with Nina about the whole situation was disingenuous in the fact that he missed her point entirely. And again, she might still be having a show right now talking about everything, so I would highly encourage to go over there and check it out to get her point of view. I just know that what he said at that time wasn't true because I actually watched it live happening, sort of thing. But that's just my experience. You know, I'm just one person. So, and again, we're just people on the outside looking in. I can see through you, see your true color, because inside you're ugly like me.
Well, you know, Lofty's quick to jump to things sometimes, and I think even he would admit that his defensive levels go up because he's constantly having to argue with people about things that he's somewhat valid about at times, and it's like building defensiveness, but like here's the thing too, and this really has nothing to do with the Nina stuff. This is more about Lofty. Like when you are trained and learn how to do certain things, you see creative projects a little differently because you understand the work it takes to accomplish subtle things, even whether it be film or video games or music. You know, if you've ever had to do home recording and you have a band, you understand all these weird nuances about microphone placement, levels, and how to mix the music so that you hear everything clearly without it turning into a wall of noise. And you're going to have a different perspective than a person that's just been listening to pop music on the radio their whole, that doesn't play any instruments, that doesn't record anything, that has no experience on how you actually make this stuff and make it sound good, high quality, and the amount of work that people have to go through just to figure that stuff out in the first place. So his perspective on just about anything creative is always going to be a tad different. You know, he's a film school kid. He knows the finer things about a lot of that stuff. So I understand some of his defensiveness and some of his attitude, not so much for this particular topic, but just in general. Lofty does get a bad rap sometimes when he actually knows, like, he's super knowledgeable about a lot of things. And in fact, like every time I'm looking for new interesting film or something to inspire me, he can give me a list of like 20 films, and I'll be damned if it's not some of the most amazing, impressive, genius stuff I've ever seen in my whole life. And some of it I already knew about, but he just reaffirms to me that like the dude knows what he's talking about, at least on certain things. I think he overreacted to this particular topic, but like give old Lofty a little grace out there if you have like an opinion of him already.
I mean, I've already had him on the show, so again, I'm
well,
not trying to.
You know, I'm just talking to the audience.
Yeah,
like
I'm not
you've
trying
met
to
him in
bash
real
anything.
life. You know,
I just noticed with me with I mean, it doesn't even have to be Lofty. It can be that people. It can be like people like that in general.
It can be anybody. Yeah,
anybody. Like I try my best to think about what I want to say before I actually say it. Whether that's due to the autism or being paranoid or whatever, or just being careful. But yeah, like the firing from the hip, and that's funny too, because I was completely not that back in the day when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I like fired from the hip all the time because that was emotionally unstable.
Yeah, I've toned down a lot. That's just part of getting a little older. So you don't have the energy to pop off.
Exactly.
Popping off. Fuck all that. I got kids. My kids be popping off enough for all of us combined. I don't need all that.
Yeah, Smash says, I know you say Lofty has his taste, and I know you still love the guy, but I'm just so enraged at him for his stupidity. And again, I honestly think it was just a firing from the hip, like first thing that came to the mind without really sitting down and thinking about that stuff. And it also could just be something that, like, if he actually watched Nina stream, he might have said something completely different.
I agree.
That's the sort of thing too. It's just don't be confident in saying, "Oh, you're lying," when it's like, "Well, there's a stream. Did you watch the stream?" Sort of thing. And let's be honest here, we're all guilty of doing this stuff too. So we're all guilty of it. So it's like, you know, everyone is a hypocrite at one point in their life because it's just going to happen. We're not perfect, sort of thing. It's just like, to me, Nina's point was so clear. Like, I don't know how you could have misread it. That was to me. But again, that was just me. And, you know, people think things differently. But let's end this on a cool note, though, because I'll tell you what, every time I saw Starfield pop up, I saw Starfield and my mind went to Seinfeld. So with the demonic power of AI, I made a Jerry Starfield AI picture that says, "What's the deal with pronouns?" And that's it.
Come on, Jerry. You know, the tribe is responsible for 90% of this. You know what the deal is.
You won't believe how long I had, like, not how long, but I had to be very creative on like how to get like a picture that didn't show like 4 arms, which I did stay too. I actually had one where he was actually holding a microphone because I was like, Jerry Seinfeld in the futuristic video game Starfield doing hilarious stand-up comedy in a space bar. Like I like took all the stuff as much as possible to get that, and it actually had him like doing the thing, and there was like some Jerry's in the background, kind of like, you know, very
Yeah.
Seinfeldish. But it was like, man, he has like 4 arms and like 6 fingers. Not exactly what I want. This was the closest I got. But
The AI is demonic, 100%. It's constantly trying to feed people pure freak show shit. Like every time I see one of those AI videos where it's like, what AI thinks a pizza commercial look like, what AI thinks a like TGIF show from the 80s.
Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah. What's the
Yeah,
deal
look
with
at it.
pronouns? What's the deal with the Starfield pronouns? I mean, do the NPCs even acknowledge you?
Look how racist the AI is. It literally tried to make him look like a rat. Am I the only one that's seen this? He has like a weird mouse face. Like the AI hates Jewish people.
He does. I was rather disappointed because I figured they would go straight for that Seinfeld, like the 90s show. Like
I like that the headphones don't actually cover his ears.
I didn't even put headphones into the equation. So I don't know why it thought to put headphones in. This one was like the one that actually like came out pretty good. I made the subtitles. I went out of my way to type in Starfield type font, find a free font, just so I could make this that says if you came up to the NPC Jerry, he would say, "What's the deal with pronouns?"
What's the deal with these words? They, them.
What's the deal with all these genders?
Yeah. When I was a kid, you were either Jewish or Gentile. Like that's still pretty much how it is, but whatever.
Well,
rock on, Gary. Yeah.
All right. So we are 30 minutes over the 2-hour minute, but it was a hoot and holler to have both guys on. What was that?
Not us. We never derail and go way over.
We never
Normal.
derail enough.
First time ever we've gone over this. Outrageous.
Outrageous.
No. My roommate just sent me the game Armored Core, where you can customize your own Armored Core. He just sent me one with Meatwad. That's amazing.
That is amazing, dude. Talk about something all three of us can get happy about.
Well, if anybody wants your daily dose of Caro memes, follow me on Twitter because I drop them. I find good ones every day.
They're the absolute best. They're always like things no one else would even think of. It's like, oh, Greg is either making these himself or he's really digging deep to find the cream of the crop.
I wish I had the capacity and the genius to make these. I know of a place to find my Aqua Teen memes, and it is good.
I power walk down to that pile of gummy bears and back. I should probably set the pile out further or closer so I can get at them.
That's my daily workout routine. Walking to a big pile of gummy bears.
Throw me one of them gummy bears.
Try not to eat them. But yeah, we'll go ahead and we will wrap up the show here. So why don't you guys feel free to plug in? Ace, how about you go ahead and plug in anything you want to plug in before we wrap up?
Yeah, guys, please go follow me on Twitter. At Edwin Aces. You'll get all the latest breaking news and all the updates on everything that I'm working on. I got Bloodbone coming October 30th. I'll fund my comic. I'll be dropping a mailing list for that soon. I'm just waiting to get the cover finished, which should be probably end of the week, early next week. So yeah, it's going to be doing a second chance campaign on funding my comic for the Ash Can. It's going to be sick, man. Anybody missed out, you don't miss out on this one, man. It's going to be because after this, me and Joe, we're working on Bloodbone #1, making it official next year. So you want to get caught up with this Ash Can. It's going to be 16 pages. Going to have an additional 4-page short story that wasn't in the original Ash Can. So you'll get a couple more pages of Bloodbone kicking ass. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Sweet. Awesome. Joe, anything besides from what you've shared when you hopped on earlier tonight?
Not really. You can find me on Twitter at ComicArtMaster1 or Joe Ball King Toad Incorporated. Root for the Cincinnati Bengals all day, every day. In Ace's case, the Broncos. Craig doesn't have a case yet, but we'll get him there. He lives in down south somewhere. I won't say because I don't want to dox his ASS.
No, I'm in Texas, so it's all good.
Brother, jump on that Broncos bandwagon this year. You're more than welcome.
Okay.
Look, Cowboys or Texans. You've got two hometown teams to pick from. So you've got two mediocre teams to pick from.
Oh, this is football, right? No.
Yeah, this is Jesus Christ, Greg.
Oh,
Ace, we need to take a trip to Texas and get this guy shaped up.
Oh no,
He needs to leave Texas.
To get wasted at football games and understand how fun it is to be like-minded with 60,000 other people at the same time. No, baseball's turned boring because there's no steroids.
Oh,
Football.
They took the juice out. It was the same. I need Barry Bonds hitting 900-foot home runs. Just taking forever to run around the bases.
I say that after wearing a baseball hat.
Also, you can find King Toad Incorporated merchandises at www.kingtoadinc.com, where you can get all your delicious needs of King Toad product. Links to the Indiegogos of Death and Swarm are up there as well. Contact information for all of us, Ace, Joe, me, and the other portion of King Toad, Shane, who is the writer of Swarm. You can get that. You can find stickers, past books, graphic novels, comics there as well. And of course, going to be trying to keeping it as updated as possible with new stuff coming around. Joe, Chaos says, "Fuck you, Joe, and your baseball take."
No, I do love baseball. I just joke about it because it's fun to joke about. But no, deep down, I do love baseball, and the Reds are they're a little hot and cold this year, but they're hot enough that it's got me excited because I grew up during the glory years of Cincinnati baseball still being the thing. The team was consistently good. Well, we were in the World Series when I was a kid. So,
I mean, I follow my dad's baseball team in the Cleveland Indians. I like the Indians.
The Indians are classic. If they would have just kept their name, the Indians.
Well, yeah, I know. Yeah, that was gay.
That was gay. Big gay, but Cleveland's big gay. What do you expect? It's not even real Ohio. Cincinnati's Ohio. Cleveland, those are just a bunch of city slick and generic-assed motherfuckers. Those people don't even know what Ohio is. Go back to Michigan, motherfuckers. Get out of my state.
Well, yeah, and then with me, you can find me at Greg Marima on Twitter. Of course, here we have the Power Up podcast, your game streaming, another show that Joe and I started doing that we'll hopefully try to get back up here soon. Redacted and classified knowledge, because who doesn't like a nice rack? And hopefully we can start trying to get a Neon Genesis Evangelion based show here coming up with
about Derail.
What's up?
Evangelion. I said talk about Derail. Evangelion episodes could go on for like 7 hours.
Perfect. Well, once we become a big time, cool guys that people like to hang out while we stream, we can go as long as we want.
Yep.
But in any case, thanks again, you guys. Thanks to Joe and thanks to Ace for hanging out, talking, and just hearing my rants and your guys' rants and all that stuff. So again, if you guys are new to the channel, feel free to smash the subscribe and punch the thumbs up, and make sure to turn on the bell to get notified when I go live. Like I said, Power Up Podcast, whether it's a solo show or a group show with the boys or new guests, whether it's game streaming or not, you can find me at 8 p.m. Central Time ish, in case something happens. So you guys have a good rest of your night. I don't think there's really I don't know. I don't know how to follow people. I know YouTube kind of does like a raid sort of thing, but I know Nina had a show at 9 p.m. I don't know if it's still going, but check her out. She has some awesome content. And of course, I'll say check out Lofty too as well, because we're trying to be supportive, even though he was wrong. No,
he's a sweet boy. Cut him a little slack.
He's a sweet retard. We all have him. No, I'm just messing. But thanks again, you guys. You guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. God bless. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. See ya.
Peace.
All right.